Meister. Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 18th of June, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Tired and hot again.
And Robert Kemp.
Oh, it's not what you look for in a woman.
Okay. Well, it might be.
I mean, maybe, yeah. Not that specific combination, is it? It's not what you put on your dating profile. It's like I like my ladies tired.
Is that better than energetic and unattractive? I don't know.
Actually, energetic might be a bit much.
Yeah, you don't want the opposite end of the spectrum. You want neutral.
Yeah, maybe I'm doubling down on tired. Maybe tired is good.
Yeah. Tired and hot, yeah. Ideal.
What a way to start a podcast. Sorry about that. I mean, there's only so much I can do with that.
You don't have to make a play off what I say. You just say your own thing.
You do when it's the first few seconds of the podcast. That's the whole idea of those years first.
But then when I always go first, it doesn't give Rob a chance to be the originator of the conversation.
No, but that has worked for years. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, we're
relatively well.
13
I could
years
switch it up.
13 years of quality recording.
Clearly. It's clearly been great every time.
I feel like there's a natural order to the introduction of people's.
It's fine. It's fine. I can be your riff track for a hot second. Or a tired second.
Yeah. Or a hot and tired second.
Robert Kemp is slightly punchier than Zachary Burgess in terms of it works better that way around.
Yeah, I can feel that. It's fine. I'll take third billing on this here podcast.
Not really. I mean, you're the one that gets to actually start the conversation because that gets cut off by me introducing you every time.
Yeah, that's still not even all how that always works, though.
No, it's true.
I should get like an and or a with. Like, you know how when they list the credits of actors and it's kind of a big deal if they get the and or with.
Yeah. What's the deal with that? It's so weird how certain people get certain phrasings in their introductory credits.
I think you just request it that it's
featuring or something like that.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to want to make a big deal of this person being there, and it's like, oh, we've got this, but also Mark Strong. Like,
I always felt like
I think he's always on that list. I think that's one of the things he always goes for. It's like with Mark Strong, and it's like, oh, okay, right, he's done it again.
Yeah, I guess I've never paid attention enough, but it always felt like that was for people who are quite famous but aren't actually a big part.
Yeah, is it like to try and lead? It's like Oscar bait in a way to try and lead you into being a supporting actor role or something. It's like, but by the way, it's a with. I'm important.
I think it does. It is different, isn't it? It does mean something, doesn't it? Because you do get it on TV shows as well, even with a regular member of the cast.
Yeah.
But that's a bit odd. You'd think it would be for a famous.
I was just trying to think. Shows that are a bit meandering will do the guest star thing, right? Even though if they're in quite a lot of episodes, but they'll still be a guest star, I guess. How does Mando do it? Because that's quite meandering. Do they just say cast, and it's just a different cast each episode or something? Or do they not do any of that? So what happened when Jack Black and Lizzo turned up?
Yeah, they were in the ending credits. I mean, but I don't think they had any.
Were they like a featuring or a guest star or with?
Man, that was a bit lame. The whole series of Mandalorian was okay, but
I mean, it's super. It's still enjoyable. Yeah, I like it a lot, but it's getting easier to pick holes in it.
Yeah,
it doesn't. I don't know if this last season made a whole lot of sense.
Not really, no.
That's even without Rob's with Rob's less knowledge of Star Wars than Dan and me typically employ.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But now
it doesn't require backstory to pick holes.
Well,
no, but I don't even know if there were even as many references to old Star Wars lore that we know as they were in previous seasons.
Maybe someone at Disney was like, "You need to stop doing that. Stop trying to bring back all the extended universe shit we got rid of."
Well, what was in the latest Mando season was like massive flashbacks to like prequel era stuff, right? Like Order 66 in the temple with the guy who played Jar Jar Binks and stuff like that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, wasn't there the bit where Grogu had a flashback and he got rescued by that cool Jedi guy who's played by the guy who played Jar Jar? Apparently.
Really? I didn't. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's quite cool.
That's Ahmed Best. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Also, that kind of seemed that was a somewhat pointless sequence, right? It didn't like add to anything.
Yeah,
it was just kind of thrown in.
It was fan service.
A little bit like that whole.
Most of it is fan service.
A little bit like that whole scientist episode, right?
Yeah,
like, that really didn't come to anything.
I mean, maybe that's still setting stuff up, but not really.
Not really.
But
that's the thing, like, because like Moff's obsession with clones comes up again as part of that. That's that whole thing, and then it's just like, yeah, Mando dealt with that in like one scene, and it's like that's not a thing. It's not a concern. Like that wasn't even what they were out to do. It just happened to be there. It's so weird. It's like yeah.
I really didn't like that. Like that action in that episode, there's a bit where they like jump off a train, which is meant to look really dangerous.
Oh yeah.
CGI, and they just sort of fall like from 100 miles an hour onto a little.
Because it's a really feckin' fast train as well.
Yeah.
And they just kind of like, oh, we can survive landing on a tiny crash mat.
Yeah. Just crouch and roll on the crash mat.
it will slow us appropriately without swooshing our organs at all.
I mean, I like the idea of going to the kind of shipwrecking yards where they're breaking down Star Destroyers, although why that would be on Coruscant and not on some far-off world. And they've already used that in video games. Isn't that how the Last Jedi Survivor game started, in like a planet where they were breaking down?
Yeah, it was a ship. It was a breaker's yard, for sure.
Shipbreaking
I don't know
yard.
what you wouldn't even... Speaking about like Star Wars theory, you wouldn't even do that on a planet, right? You do it in space where there's zero gravity to deal with.
Yeah, but they seem to have, like, the Disney Star Wars has made it so that Star Destroyers can just sit, meters above the ground.
Well, sure. I mean, they can. That's fine. You could have them have ridiculously giant repulsor drives or whatever. But
it's
like,
more that
you wouldn't disassemble them in that environment. You'd want to do it in zero gravity because then everything would just be floating. You could easily pull it apart.
Yeah, but then you can't do the whole. Well, I was about to call it slave labor, but not really. The sort of low-paid labor aspect that Star Wars loves so much.
Why could you not do that though?
I mean, what?
There's an entire video game about that hard space shipbreaker. That's basically that concept.
Sure, but is that really low pay at that point?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense because it's going to be quite high cost to build all the suits and stuff, surely. But I don't know.
I mean, it's a value proposition of like how much you pay these guys versus how much you're making from disassembling these ships.
Yeah, well, it's like, I don't know, the equipment need. Does everyone have like Mando armor? Like, that's the problem. Right, who actually has gear to space? I mean,
I'm sure if we're talking about the Empire, they wouldn't even care about sacrificing hundreds of people to disassemble a ship. Just send them out there and who cares if they get blown up or vacuumed?
Sure.
But the idea of Star Wars is not to make sense, it's to look cool. That's why it's that's why that trope has come up multiple times.
I think disassembling ships in space would be cool. That could make a cool anti-gravity, avoid the shit that's flying around sequence.
And Star Wars just finds the trodden down person more interesting anyway, right? It's rarely about anyone living a comfortable life.
Is there any zero-G scenes anywhere in Star Wars?
I mean, like
Princess Leia floating back to the ship.
Oh yeah,
that one
was
time.
Fucking stupid. Oh my god, I forgot that happened. I mean, people go on about how bad Rise of Skywalker was, and that's a total train wreck. And to be fair, Last Jedi is a film which is watchable, but some of the stuff in that is pretty ropey. I don't know.
Oh man, no, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's spoilers for like Mando or whatever. So I guess it's a few months old. Who cares? Let's go in. It's like there's that whole bit right where the rebel pilot dude finds that derelict ship and goes, oh, "There's Beskar armor in here." And it's
Rebel
like
Columbo.
Well, yeah, and it's like
he's like a private investigator in an X-wing for some reason.
And
yeah,
I guess that's intended to foreshadow Moff Gideon's presence on Mandalore, right? That he's already there and making it. But that's the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, that scene is completely pointless, right? It doesn't mean anything at all in the flow of the show.
Because what was it? It's like
and it's bad foreshadowing because Moff Gideon finds out that the Mandalorians are going back to Mandalore like seconds before he has a massive base there, as it seems. Like the flow of that thread doesn't. I don't know.
What was it even supposed to mean? Because he finds that Moff Gideon has escaped from the prison ship, which is the Lambda shuttle. Yeah. Then he's like, "Oh shit, there's Beskar in the wall, so that must mean the Mandalorians broke him out
or involved or something." But he doesn't make that assumption, right? Like he doesn't suddenly go blaming Mando for like, "Oh, you broke him out."
Maybe that's what we're meant to assume. But why was there Beskar there? Like,
I guess the implication must be that like Moff had already started making his Beskar troopers. And that they broke him out, but then that doesn't flow with the scene that comes later where the lady spy sort of tells him it's like, hey, the Mandalorians are going back to Mandalore. It's like, wait, that can't be, and then he suddenly has a massive presence there. Like it's just weird. I think there's a step missing. So maybe there's something on the cutting room floor here that.
I mean, he must have been critical. On Mandalore for ages, right? If he had that giant base and
all I mean, he must have been. And
and then he built that. Is it just his suit in particular that's supposed to be made out of the best?
No, all of them are, right? Because they specifically call it out when all those not Mandalorians turn up in the second to last episode.
They actually have like full on Beskar.
Yeah, one of them shouts, "It's like they're wearing Beskar."
Oh shit! Oh well, they got dealt with pretty easily then, considering they were...
Yeah, because they were getting shot, that was the thing, right? They were getting hit and nothing was happening, unlike every other armor in Star Wars that seems pointless.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to do anything,
I also found it weird,
it is kind of insane how stormtroopers are like heavily armored and they always die from one hit, and yet the Beskar armor seems to take any number of hits and still cause no problem at all.
Pretty much blaster immune, isn't it? That's the whole point. You got to kind of shoot in between the gaps.
Yeah, it's weird. Star Wars.
Also, if I'm being, this is the sort of Star Wars lore-y stuff that I guess is quite picky, but it stood out to me for some reason. Like the bit where was it the old Mandalorian fleet leader before Bo-Katan takes it back, and he goes back and he's like doing the one man dude. Like
he doesn't
last
look
man
that
standing
tough.
On
He's meant to be super tough, but he doesn't look tough at all. And then he has to fight with a girl and loses. And it's like not that. Obviously, it is. Yeah, he's getting a bit older as well, Starbuck. I don't know.
But anyway, he's on that ship, right? And it's like on that their cruiser thing, and like, don't most Star Wars ships have shields? But like every shot was doing like hull damage to this thing, like
right.
Every single thing, and they're sending in bombers, and the bombers aren't even bombing; they're just sort of there. Like it just struck me as like slightly weird.
And when you're talking about bombers, wasn't the whole point of those bombers is they were meant to be able to shoot through shields because it's a low velocity projectile or whatever? That was the point of that.
It just
right?
I don't.
Is that right? I thought that was from Dune.
They were using torps. That the torps didn't fly as fast, and that's the point.
Yeah, I think so. That could be any fucking sci-fi.
Is that in Star Wars lore? I think that comes from Dune, doesn't it?
I mean, that's the whole reason why Dune knife fights are a thing, right?
Well, sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't think that was a thing in Star Wars. Maybe it is. I didn't think, because Dune has a whole thing about shields being based on the motion and stuff, and having to be permeable to air, otherwise you'd suffocate if you had a personal shield. And that's what makes them.
Why they need those weird insect things, right, that could slowly pierce through.
And I think, like, they do that in Mass Effect as well, right? I think, to do with the kinetic shields, because it's like low velocity impacts don't trigger the kinetic shields.
Right,
yeah.
Gotcha.
But again, Mass Effect is slightly harder sci-fi than, well, certainly more than Star Wars.
Definitely has to have,
like, whereas Star Wars, it doesn't have an explanation for any of that stuff. But it's just like...
No, it's like they've got shields. Like, crappy Star Destroyers have like exposed shield generators. It's like shields are a thing. Like, but it's
what you have in Star Wars is X-wings have shields and TIE fighters don't.
Yeah.
But TIE fighters are like faster or whatever.
That's the important difference. That is also like never explored. Everyone just dies in one hit.
Yeah, you very rarely. I mean, apart from the the first Star Wars trench run where they get shot a shit ton and still live.
Right.
It's like that would be the
quite a few of
shields.
them, most of them are killed.
Well,
in
yeah,
the
they die
trench
eventually,
run.
but they take a lot of pounding.
That's true. There is that one line in the first Star Wars film that inspired all of the pressing that key 3 times every time in X-Wing, which is stabilize your rear deflector.
Oh, right,
he says
right,
that.
Change the shield
and
balance.
it's like, change the shield balance, which is like, But then we're getting onto it, but like when we get into news, first of all, there's going to be a Star Wars game to talk about, but also in fucking Starfield. Yep, it's balanced. It's balanced.
Energy distribution is very much a thing.
Straight from X-Wing 1993. That mechanic is
still
alive
there.
and well. It's the only mechanic possible for a space game.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Well, other than the games that don't do it, like Freelancer and
Yeah, sure, but I'm just
No Man's Sky.
I just think it's funny.
Freelancers just spam the shield batteries.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep your hand on that. Was it tilde? Or something like what was the key?
Like one of the
comma?
One of the middle letter keys.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. F.
Yeah.
Press F to shield.
But that was it. You had to like increase your shield to charge the shield, and then you could move the shield back forward and balance. But you could actually kind of move the. You had like 2 layers of shield. You had like overshield as well. I seem to remember, which you only charged up overshield if you were on the. If you put your energy balance fully to shield, I think.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It was quite a lot. Yeah.
I think there was. I'm trying to remember. Was this? I think Wing Commander might have had some amount of management still, but not the first Wing Commanders. I think that came later.
And then Free Space, you moved a little.
Oh yeah, there was a graph thing.
Graph, yeah. So you moved a little pointer between like the 3 quadrants instead of having the three separate meters.
There's a podcast about video games.
Yeah, as you can tell from anything non-video game to talk, because I saw Spider-Man, or whatever, the new animated Spider-Man sequel to Spider-Verse.
I mean, it's real good. It's gonna be. I still haven't seen it, but like, holy shit, that must be. That sounds so good.
It was well good. Yeah. You should go and see it, Rob. I saw it in the cinema because I was like, I better, if I'm going to see. And you know, I kind of pretty much thought I was done with the superhero films, to be honest. But this year, oh my God, like, I quite enjoyed them. Whatever it was, Volume 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. That was good. And then this, obviously, brilliant. 5 stars. So, yeah, I doubt there's going to be anything until the next part of because this is basically a 2-parter, really, this Spider-Man sequel. And I think the next half of it was slated for next year, but I think it's been delayed already which makes sense. These things must take ages to make.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that in particular, because they're yeah, some of the stuff I've heard, some of the tricks I've already like my Twitter feed has already been quite full of like some of the animation tricks and stuff they're doing, like more than the actual spoilers about the film, which is, I don't know, actually some of the tricks might be spoilers in some ways, but like, because there's a technical part of me that's watching that after how good the first one was. And
it's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it takes it to the next stage. I mean, the first one was incredible looking. You know, it's hard to top that, but they do different stuff, which is cool. Yeah, and it looks well good, and good story for sure, and expanding the characters, including expanding Gwen, Spider-Gwen, which is good.
I've got to ask, and this is the one thing I want to be spoiled about. Do we get to see more Nicolas Cage?
Not enough.
No!
Not much. No, sorry. But I think he'll probably be back in the next one.
So underused.
He does appear, but it's not heavy. In fact, you only get like one shot of Penny Parker as well, I think, in the whole thing. I think they're setting up more people in this from the Spider-Verse, and then it will be a big extravaganza in the last one, right, where they'll bring back the ones from the first one.
Avengers.
Like Peter Porker and... I always forget that Peter Porker he's a spider that was bitten by a radioactive pig.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, but this one has Peter parked car. It's like the cars, like anthropomorphic car version of Peter Parker.
All right, I'm all the way in.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
There's a bit of me that thinks like these Spider-Verse films are like the Yakuza of movies, right? They're just how to do it right. Just be silly with it and have fun.
Yeah, they're definitely having fun, but also it tells a
good story as well.
A story with emotional impact and stuff. Not that Yakuza doesn't, but it's a bit.
I mean, it tries.
It's a bit over the top.
It definitely tries.
It's a bit melodramatic.
It lays it on thick in spots.
Well, I think maybe the other problem with Yakuza is a problem that the Spider-Man films haven't got to yet, which is there's just been too many of them and they're always the same. It's like, you know how this dramatic turn is going to happen in this Yakuza game, because it's always going to happen in this pretty much the identical way.
I've been trying to work out if this 2023 to 2024 period, there's going to be, I think, 3 Yakuza or Like a Dragon games are going to be released within a 12-month period. That is insane.
Okay. I mean...
3. We've had 1.
And the thing is, like...
I'm not even sure any of these have been actually been confirmed as being Like a Dragon 8, although I think Infinite Wealth probably is. Yes. We'll come to that.
It's the Infinity symbol, which is like an 8, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty much, that's got to be what's going on there.
They're just dropping numbers now.
I was going to say, like, and I guess none of them have been spin-offs, but I guess technically one of them has
Ishin is definitely a spin-off.
That's basically a spin-off.
Ishin is definitely, and you could argue Judgment is a spin-off.
Yeah, I suppose.
And they're basically Yakuza games.
But I feel like, when you're going to get a Yakuza Tactics.
Shit, yeah. I mean, they've sort of proven they could do it.
Yeah.
Man. Actually, the absolute worst is that, like, some of the games that Yakuza have already done, like the, I'm trying to think, like, the construction game from Yakuza Kiwami 2.
Right.
It's basically already a gacha game.
Right.
So they could quite easily just make mobile spin-offs of a lot of this stuff.
How do you know they haven't, though?
Well, I don't. Actually, in fairness, in some of the Hostess games, they could be spun off quite easily.
Yeah. You maybe just aren't the target market, so you don't know that they already have.
Maybe they only came out in Japan or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I think we would have heard about it at this point.
Maybe. How many pachinko machines have they made?
I mean, how many pachinko machines have they had in the game?
Well,
I think as far as I've played, I think it's 2.
Really? Like 2 individual machines?
2 different machines.
Not like an entire parlour?
Well, I mean, there's been a parlour filled with those 2 machines.
Machine. Yeah. Okay. That's what I meant. It's like, not literally just 2 machines.
Oh, no, yeah. There's not just been like you just found one, like just a single one. That's not a thing. Just 2. As far as I've played, they've probably done more in the more recent ones.
So anyway, non-video games.
non-video games. Yeah, actually. I mean,
anything else before we move on to because we've got news this week, so.
Oh, we've got loads of news.
Yeah.
I don't know really. I'm still watching that Harry Potter. It's like I can't
still catching back.
Is the grading? That's my thing about Harry Potter films. Is like
that it's starting to fade
darker.
out. Yeah,
they're literally getting darker. The colours are washing out.
I mean, we just watched part 6. What's that called? Half-Blood Prince. So that's like
right.
In some ways, is like one of the least interesting films, but I still quite enjoy how it's made. If you know what I mean, it's quite. I don't know. There's something about those films that just drags you along very well, right? Even if the core plot isn't necessarily as interesting at times in them.
Which is the one that introduces the Horcruxes?
That is this one.
Yeah, because you have to go to the place and do a thing.
The sort of dark crystal cave. Right?
You have to go to a really dark place.
Dark place.
Is that where Dumbledore's drinking the poison or whatever? Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's darker. I love how every time one comes out, it's like, this is darker and more adult than ever before. It's like, it's getting a bit ridiculous for a children's book. Like,
I mean, they're growing up.
Yeah.
And they're realizing that the world is a dark place, like all adults do. Anyway. But yeah, I don't know. Rowling issues aside, I'm enjoying it. Gnome did say she went back and watched the Fantastic Beats. That would be,
oh no, I've never seen one of those.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beats and where to find them.
I'd totally watch that.
Yeah,
I'd be well into that. And watch Crimes of Grindelwald, and apparently that is like also dark. Like there's some themes in that were just like.
Oh, really?
That she explained to me. I won't spoil it, but yeah, she mentioned after me, and it's just like, oh damn, really?
Well, there's a thing. I haven't seen them, but one of my favorite YouTubers, Jenny Nicholson, did reviews of them, and there's a bit where she says like, if it's fine. The Harry Potter universe is fine if you don't think about it too hard, but if you deliberately set your magical universe films before World War II, you have to think about why the wizarding community didn't stop the Holocaust.
Right, yeah.
Right? And if you don't do that, then you'd have to worry about that, right? But and then so it's like, yeah, that's not good. That kind of ruins things.
I mean, surely they just play the wizarding world stay separate card.
Yeah, but
this is a muggle problem. We don't care.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that's the thing.
Presumably was partly why they moved the first one to America, right? Where they were just like, because obviously Americans stayed out of the war for quite a long time, so we don't have to worry about it yet.
Yeah, I guess they hope they won't cross over until to a point. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's dark, obviously, but like, it is something like we could have easily avoided this problem by not doing that. Anyway,
but that's dark in a trying too hard way.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's just like, we're just going to throw in World War II because we can, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's fine. Dr. Manhattan will turn up and win it. Filmed.
Dr. Manhattan is more powerful than any freaking wizard. He's more powerful than Voldemort, isn't he? He's more powerful than pretty much any super.
He could have lifted Germany off the face of the planet if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't want the space Nazis, though. We all know how that goes.
Yeah, they end up on the far side of the moon or something. And then, what was that film?
Moonraker?
I think they actually... No, there is a B movie, isn't there, where Nazis on the moon.
I know what you mean, but I can't remember.
I'm Googling it because it's not called Nazi. It's called Iron Sky. Okay. Yes, but it's basically Nazis on the moon.
I think that's been done more than once.
Yeah,
I want to say.
Definitely.
Holy shit, that's from 2012.
Lol.
The wizards came from the moon.
Only that particular wizard came from the moon.
Yes.
I bet more of them did. Right. Can't just have. I mean, that one was called out.
It's so weird that to me that maybe it's definitely just me, but it's so weird to me that Destiny is this massive video game that has loads of players and loads of lore and everything, and all I really know about it is that wizard came from the moon.
It's because you only know about the bad shit. That's like you don't care enough about the game to like that type of game. Even I guess really.
But it's so weird because Halo was great. Obviously, Halo was great, and I cared about that world. And so what?
It's just because it's a live service, right? It doesn't It's not possible for you. Destiny has the problem where it really is impossible to just pick it up and go, I want to play through this and experience the story. You actually can't do that. Like, because Destiny 2 has a Disney Vault now. Like, they retire old content at some point,
right?
And and have said they will kind of bring. I don't know if it has already happened. I don't pay attention that closely, but they'll bring that old content back occasionally.
But that's like solving the other problem that I feel like when I'm thinking about like Warframe, where it's just like there's too much content, where it's like it's so impenetrable to even start playing. You don't want to.
Warframe sounds insane. Like, how do you even? Yeah, how?
And I mean, that's always applied to basically all MMOs, like even just Guild Wars, is like even just starting that fresh, you're like, holy shit, what do I even do?
But then to an extent, I sort of felt that way about Fortnite to some extent when I started playing it.
Yeah, I mean, like, even that kind of game can sometimes do that.
Just because the core of Fortnite is obvious, you understand that, especially with the no build mode in.
Well, sure, but that's not that. We're talking about a time before that, which is why it seemed like that, where it's like the building thing is
It's pretty difficult.
Weirdly complicated.
And, it's pretty difficult to... I mean, I've never grasped it. I've never found it fun, that side of Fortnite. But also, like, you just... you're wandering around and you're finding random stuff, and it's like, is this useful? I don't know. Like, why would I mount this pig? Yeah. Like, there's a monster truck. Oh, hang on, there's a track. We can just start a race in the middle of a Fortnite match, which is kind of cool, but also you're sort of sat there going, but what now? Why? And it's like, and in fairness, the answer is, why? Nobody cares. Like,
because why?
because why? Oh, actually, I suppose I should add not to the end of that. Because why not? Just do it. Why not have an Ariana Grande? Now I can't even say her name. Ariana Grande concert in the middle of a Fortnite match. Sure.
I mean, who needs Second Life when you've got Fortnite?
Although, in fairness, have you heard about video game news? Here we go.
Here we go.
Heard about the Unreal Editor for Fortnite thing?
Yeah.
Where it's like, they kind of want a bit of Roblox's pie, right? Because Roblox allows people to make stuff in its engine, like up totally at other games and stuff like that.
But, I mean, obviously Fortnite already had its editor mode, but it was for Fortnite stuff.
Yeah,
basically.
Essentially, it was for building stuff within the frameworks that Fortnite had already provided. But now they're extending that out, so it's like, hey, within Fortnite, you can now build pretty much anything. It's wild. But also, like, they've turned around and said it's like, oh, hey, we're going to provide a bit like Dreams, I suppose. Here's a community front for it all. Here's a way to discover stuff. And we will pay you if this gets popular.
But presumably not enough.
Oh, no.
That'll be the Roblox model.
I think the share is appalling. Like, it's like the developer gets 40% or something. But it's like hey,
that is at least better than Roblox. So
okay. I suppose that has always been Epic's trick, right? We'll make it slightly better than everyone else. Like the Epic Store, like that kind of stuff. Epic Store share is like less than Steam's and stuff like that. So.
I was about to say, I don't think the Epic Store is still better itself. Than Steam yet.
Yeah, who cares? Epic Store, whatever. But yeah, their revenue share scheme is apparently way better than Steam's.
Well, not way
for the developer.
Somewhat better.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was way better, right? But then it got less good. Something like that, yeah.
After the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
After everyone stopped paying attention.
Yeah, kind of. This feels like one of those 2-week periods where I'm sure there's been plenty of moments where I've thought, oh, crap, I'll save that for the podcast. And then the podcast comes around and I've blanked it out. Like definite things I've seen that was just like, oh, yeah, that's a Zach thing. And then it's like, oh, it's gone.
As in not video game things.
Not video game, like just general life stupidity I've spotted and be like, oh yeah, Zach would appreciate that. And it's like, oh, that's one for Dad. That kind of stuff. And then I forget them. I should just like note everything these days. Oh, my memory is like weird. I am the colander of memory these days.
The only thing that's been happening in my house is the bathroom light has started flickering in a really weird way that I don't think I've ever seen.
House grouse.
Yeah, it's a house grouse.
Is this so? It's not due to it being a fluorescent light.
No,
it's an LED.
I assume it's LEDs in there, and so I don't know. It must be like the control circuit is bugged or something because like it doesn't turn off. Like parts of it turn on and off, and it's totally random. It's not like a consistent flickering. It just randomly changes brightness constantly.
Okay, that is weird. I mean, because those things have to have a little transformer in them as well to do an AC to DC, and it's like, but that would surely take the whole thing off, not bits of it.
Yeah, I can only assume it must be like the chip and maybe a capacitor.
I mean, is it one of these ones that can dim?
Well, I wouldn't know because it's not on a dimmer.
Right, because like I wonder if the pulse width modulator on it is busted or
right because they don't actually dim, right? They just turn
they pulse width modulate.
Yeah.
So it's 100% for less of the time, but
it's very weird and quite distracting because it's so randomly timed that you can't even like adapt to it. It's just like the brightness just randomly changes every few seconds, quite noticeably. But I don't know. I guess that's probably not going to get fixed for a while because it's not broken technically.
Fine. Yeah, it's fine.
It's the bulb, though. You can't just swap the bulb and see.
Well, I mean, the trouble is because it's a bathroom fitting, it's a weird shape or whatever.
Oh, was it one of those BC3s?
I don't know. I don't actually know what's in there, but it's definitely not a standard bulb. I can tell you that much.
Huh.
For the number of times we've had to replace it, it's just like, oh no, we've got to find another one of these weird shaped bulbs to go in here.
That's weird.
I'm pretty sure my bulbs are the same throughout my entire flat. Yeah. Including the bathroom. But I've mysteriously never had to replace them in the bathroom, which is weird. I suppose 2 years isn't that unusual for them to last in a bathroom. But
what, are they spots or are they like?
Yeah, spots. They're just spots.
Oh yeah, like halogen spots can last a long time, and if they're LED spots, they'll last friggin' ages. Like the thing that will go on them will be the transformer before the actual LEDs fail.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In fairness, I have had LED halogens that were like super cheap, and they did fail, but they were transformer fails. But hey, if you think about it, all my Hue bulbs are still running, and I've had those friggin' ages, and they're all LED bulbs. And
yeah, mine too. That would be expensive if they did fail, because they're
they're expensive.
They haven't yet. Yeah,
and they're all integrated LEDs in the kitchen, and they probably were installed when this house was built. I don't know.
Which wasn't that long ago, right?
I mean, 2012. So
yeah,
it's, 13 years of bulbage. No, wait, 11 years of bulbage. I can count. Bulbage. Sorry.
Bulbage. That's the house grouse.
Yeah, that's all
the
bulbage
house grouse. I think it is time for the news.
I guess we may get on with it.
I mean, just so Zach's aware, I did get an email saying there were more Anglian water problems in the neighbourhood, so, just expect some more leaks happening.
Well, what? They're warning you that they're going to happen.
They sent me an email saying there was some water pressure problem somewhere.
Okay, so it's currently leaking, we just don't know where.
We don't know where, yeah.
There'll just be a big hole in the road at some point.
Yeah. Sinkhole at Aldercar.
Yeah.
Endless troubles of water supply to small villages.
Or this specific village, at least.
Street, yeah. News! Summer Games Fest has been happening.
Summer Games Fest.
Not E3. We cannot call it E3 in any way. Get E3 out of your mind. It is deed.
It does not exist.
Well, I mean,
they might try next year, but it's deed.
Well, they just need to come up with a different set of words that start with E, so they can continue calling it that.
Exhibition.
That's the one that they needed to replace. The other two are probably fine.
The electronic entertainment.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not an expo anymore, is it? It would be the electronic entertainment extravaganza.
Yeah, pretty much.
There we go.
But it would be also be nice if you could replace the other two as well, because electronic entertainment does kind of suck as a term.
Electronic entertainment. I mean, yeah, that could include anything from like kids' toys that when you push buttons, funny noises.
I'm sure it did at one point.
Oh, mate, I've got to. I have to experience this,
mate.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love this, mate.
Oh, mate.
So. Apparently, I haven't seen this for myself, but Gnome has confirmed this. My mum has bought Baby Miles a little like kids toy, but it's one of these ones that's like makes noise, like a lot of noise.
As kids toys tend to do.
Like a lot of electronic noises, though, right? So it's like there's a sound gen in there, but it's supposed to make the sound of the thing you push. One of them does not. So you push the button that's got a bird on it, and apparently it just shouts. I can't even say it. It just shouts bird, and then plays the sound of a train.
Of a what? A train?
A train. So it's like bird. Woo.
I mean, that could be a very weird type of bird specifically.
There's so many varied sounds that birds make. Bird song.
I mean, that just cracked
all they could think of was bird. Woo-hoo.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a bug or like some sort of broken bit of electronics. But Gnome just had to play it to me down the phone. She found it so funny, and it's just like bird. Woo-woo.
I mean, the question is there also a button for like train on there? So it's like it's using the train sound effect.
You know what? I didn't actually ask, but yeah, I bet that's exactly what it is. Like, there's just some.
You press the train button, then you'll get some bird song.
Sorry, it just makes me laugh so much to even just think about it. It's bad.
You better disable those buttons or you'll be teaching your kid
Yeah,
the
you're
wrong
going to be
things.
really confused. You're like,
No, we're a bit worried.
make?
We're a bit worried it will teach the like kind of animal Tourette's that Gnome already has. You know when you're like out for a drive or something and you just see an animal like
everyone has to say cow.
Yeah, exactly. You just go cow. Sheep.
Birds go woo woo. Cows go moo. Ducks go whack 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 whack.
Yep, they sure do.
Yeah, I need to get Kippers to teach him the proper noise that ducks make.
Yeah,
What noise the ducks make? Disgruntled duck. Anyway, sorry. That was probably one of the anecdotes I forgot to mention earlier, but that yeah.
I mean, what did you get for Father's Day from that?
How much vomit and poop did he give you?
Well,
that's about all he can do at the moment.
I mean, he's vomited quite a fair amount this morning, so.
Oh, okay.
Also, I don't care about that stuff, so it's fine.
Yes.
About what? Vomit?
No, just
No, about Father's Day.
days. Well, just days.
Days. Oh,
like,
yeah. You don't
something days.
Christmas.
I mean, I don't even care about that particularly. It's like,
No.
That'll save you a lot of money in the long run.
Well, it's you don't care. It's everyone else. That's annoying.
that is the problem. Like, you have to. You can't individually escape it like easily.
It's true. We're all in a
You
society.
just have to steal. You have to just steal all his presents and hide them, so he'll never get them. And then he can not learn that lesson, and then you can save money.
Well, yeah, you just dish them out at random moments of the year.
Oh, what you teach him to distribute the presents,
Exactly.
therefore it doesn't appear like a big deal over one specific day,
Exactly, yeah.
and therefore when presents don't happen, it won't be unusual either.
You build up a stash, right? So like you build a warehouse of potential presents, and then when he does something good, like he earns them all.
That might be worse though.
You reckon, or do you reckon it's too much performance anxiety?
Or like just a constant trickle of presents might be a worse thing to get used to
I see what you
than
mean,
one
kind of
big
a-
lump of presents.
Do you reckon it's like an entitlement thing?
Yeah.
But then Christmas is an entitlement thing at kids, right?
Sure,
as
but
well,
it's just
'cause
like that one-off thing.
I
You
want
can
a
limit it. You can limit it.
Do you mean I didn't get an N64? Screw you, mum.
Well, that'll be the real trick if you can somehow hand down your ancient consoles and make them seem relevant.
Oh, I mean, that might work for a while. Here's an iPad 3. Enjoy. We think he's already got a bit of a screen addiction. Like he's
Unsurprising.
Really?
like Gnome sat him down and like the Trooping of the Colour was on TV, like for the King's birthday and stuff.
Well, I mean,
So-
large moving light shows are kind of attractive.
I mean, I bet, yeah, and
Children.
we think he has a particular attraction to red as well. So that was
like a bull.
yeah, basically
He's red.
He's the bull baby. But yeah, so he was quite happy, just sat there watching that for however long that show was.
I think he's going to be a royalist.
That's the answer. It wasn't the red. It was the royal family.
No, I think he's just going to be Knuckles. Like just to spite his name, he'll be Knuckles, not Tails. Pick the wrong color there, mate.
Why is he not into orange?
Not obviously.
Or red? Okay.
Just red.
How much chance does he had to see orange though?
That's a good question. That's a good question. We need to present him with a color wall and see which way he turns.
Yeah.
Can he actually tell the difference between orange and red?
Oh yeah, at this point his eyesight should be as good as ours. Probably better.
You're probably better. Literally.
I mean, I don't know if that like what's the word? I don't know if that like relates to how quick they can focus and track stuff, or whether they've got the mental capacity to do that. But at least like in terms of the visual acuity of the eye should be good enough to see that stuff now.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he had his first proper laugh this week.
Oh, nice.
But they're like that's kind of fun. But like,
yeah.
But making him do it again has been near on impossible. Like it happened.
Or you didn't determine what was funny.
Oh no! What was funny was Gnome leaning back in the chair, throwing her head back in despair.
That's not a good sign.
And then snapping it back and going boo. And then he was like,
okay,
nice.
Did manage to catch it on video, but yeah, I haven't made it happen since. He seems vague. I think he's starting to go off things. Like
that's also not helpful.
No, it's not at all.
Already starting to develop preferences.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's definitely developing a mummy preference.
I mean, sure.
Well, I mean that's natural.
Normal.
That's, standard. But
don't like that beard rubbing him in the face all the time.
Yeah, I don't think he enjoys that.
That's why. Who does?
No one seems to like the beard.
I like the beard. I like it. I mean, it's fine visually, just not maybe rubbing it in your face.
No. I mean, I think there are moments when you're like having a play and you sort of just go beard, like shove that in his face, then he sort of finds that kind of funny. But like if he's trying to like actually have a cuddle and stuff, and he's got this annoying habit at the moment where if you try and hold him like on your shoulder, where he just sort of keeps looking left and right and like moving his head around and headbutting you every time he does it, and it's like, and I don't know if he's trying, like he turns one way and gets into the beard and then tries to turn away and goes, no, I wanted to turn the other way, and then gets into the beard.
Probably. That sounds about right.
Get in the beard. News.
News.
Let's bring this back around. Let's go through the list. Summer games first.
One.
The summer of Keighley has been happening, and so some games were announced. Some games were announced. Some games we saw a little bit more of, and a lot of things got dates. So there was an awful lot of uninteresting stuff. I'm going to say. No, I wouldn't say it's a spectacular year. I didn't come away with like a game where I was like, oh damn.
Yes, but that's very specific. That's a difference between it just being a good year and it being a very specifically good year for you.
Yeah, I know.
I think this year technically is like pretty good compared to like maybe the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think you're right.
In terms of just pure output.
I think. Yeah, or you mean most E3, like even though it's not E3. But
well, yeah. Also,
most game.
I guess there has been. It does seem like there's been a slightly higher than average amount of stuff as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think maybe it was a new announcement year as opposed to a too much of a sequelitis year. If you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Call of Duty didn't do anything, did they? Like they perhaps announced like an expansion for Warzone or something, or some sort of...
That would have been at Sony, right? Oh, wait.
Sony haven't really done
is it Sony any longer? I forget who has the Call of Duty thing at the moment.
Activision has it. But
yeah, but I mean, which one of the consoles is the main Call of Duty one now?
Oh, that is a very good question. I don't know. I don't know if there is an exclusivity deal at the moment. Or like a... what's the word they use? Promotional deal? Whatever that is. Might be PlayStation, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was still PlayStation.
Definitely was in the last generation, I think. Yeah. Anyway, maybe this might be a year where we don't get a Call of Duty. Like, so that didn't.
Holy shit!
so that didn't. Unless I've missed something horrendous, but like
unless they're just going to do their own presentation at some point.
Yeah, I bet they will.
Just for Call of Duty.
But we didn't. We got. You know, we've been through this period of time without seeing a Call of Duty trailer, like for a new Call of Duty, and everyone's like. Oh, okay. Don't care. It's like it doesn't seem to be a bad thing.
Like they finally figured it out. People don't care.
People don't care. Even though it's still like one of the like highest selling games every year. Still.
Well, maybe it won't be this time.
Well, because I won't make one.
Well, obviously.
Anyway, here are my notes. Other stuff happened, but here are what I've picked out. Ubisoft are making a Prince of Persia game. They're going back to Prince of Persia, but they're going back to it as a 2-dimensional Metroidvania game. Metroidvania. That's the word. And
I thought there was one in Train. Did that get cancelled? I thought there was a 3D one.
Yeah, they were trying to make a 3D one at some point.
Right.
Didn't they do it? Well, they did the reboot of the first one, right? Sands of Time got its remake.
I think.
Did that come out?
Yeah, I think it did.
Did it? I'm not sure.
Man.
But yes, I do remember that they were trying to make that remake.
Yeah, but this new one, The Lost Crown, due out January 2024, so just sneaking outside of this year. I actually think this looks really good. Like, it looks like a proper Metroidvania game with like proper melee combat, like sword play stuff going on, and like flashy combat at that, with nice little 3D cutaways and things like that.
I mean, sure, if people have
looks decent.
There's been a lot of similar, even just in these presentations, there's a couple of similar games, 2D Metroidvania melee combat focused games.
Sure.
But I think, like, the Prince of Persia, like, part of the reason why it was so cool, especially in the first game, was like because it was a 3D environment, and it was like the puzzle was the environment, figuring out how to traverse it. And then when it's just a 2D game, you can't really do that as well.
Well, to an extent. Like, I mean, I guess you know how to get across it, right? But assuming you've got the powers.
But then that's the thing. It'd be like gated by powers rather than gated by like skill, I guess. I mean, if you could call what you did in the original Prince of Persia skill, not the original, the original 3D game.
Sure, but then like you can that's the structure of Metroidvania, isn't it? Really, progression isn't necessarily skill tied. It's about progression.
Yeah, but there's no backtracking in like the first 3D Prince of Persia.
Also, that remake, I don't think it actually did come out. I think it's still on the way. I thought it looked okay. We got to see a little more of it at the Ubisoft Forward later on, and Ubisoft Forward followed a very old school like show presentation style. They actually had a live audience, and they had very long explanation sections with people on stage too, like, and including one guy who said like, let's just get the speech out of the way and show you the game, and then talked for quite a long time.
As you do. Classic move.
Anyway, I think this is one to watch. I think it looked to me, there was something to it. It looked decent. Nicolas Cage is coming to Dead by Daylight, and they actually had Nicolas Cage at the show, which is
as what character though?
As Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, but in what context?
As in Nicolas, it's kind of the unbearable weight of massive talent, Nicolas Cage.
Right. Okay.
Like he's one of the survivor. He literally came up. That was his explanation of it. He was like, this is an exaggerated form of the actor you may know as Nicolas Cage.
He would have been better as a villain.
What? Just murdering him.
Yeah. For no reason. Not even like, vampire Nicolas Cage or anything. Just straight Nicolas Cage just going around killing people.
I don't know if they... Well, maybe. I don't know if that's necessarily what an actor wants. Like...
It would be funny. That's clearly what he wants.
It would be pretty funny. But he was cool. He was cool on stage. He was Nicolas Cage, so he's just immediately cool. But it's a shame he's in a Dead by Daylight game, right? Like, why can't we get like any
just
other game?
Nicolas Cage game.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage simulator.
Did they ever make an Expendables game? A really bad movie tie-in?
I mean, I bet they did, but I can't remember it.
That would be a licensing nightmare, presumably.
Yeah. Yeah, like when that film came out, what we were talking about, like early 360 era, maybe, or late, like mid 360 era. Can you imagine Stallone face in that game?
Slightly better than Max Payne, probably.
Probably better than Max Payne face, yeah. Sam Lake face. Sega are having another go at the 2D Sonic thing. Sort of. 2.5D Sonic thing.
But, I mean, it's close enough to 2D.
Sonic Superstars is due out later this year. And I may have put it on my Fantasy League team, but I'm a little... I don't know.
You're worried about that getting counterfeit, potentially.
And also...
And it might not come out.
That might
put a date on it?
They did put a date on it. Yeah.
Like an actual date or a month date?
No, I think they just said 2023.
Right, okay. That's not really a date then.
I'm a bit worried that this is going to fall into the Sonic 4 camp. Like, okay, it looks more like the classic Sonic from Sonic Generations and stuff like that, so I've got a little more confidence in it than Sonic 4, but...
I remain hopeful that they played Sonic Mania and got some
I don't know though. Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this looks like a Sonic game. But then when I looked at it again, I was like, there are certain hints of like this doesn't maybe look like it's going to be as smooth as you'd like.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It has a bit of that Sonic 4 janky looking stuff going on.
There's something a little off. Yeah, it's hard to place, but like I guess Sonic people like us, we're Sonic people now. Yep. You sort of look at it and go, something doesn't look right. Something doesn't. Even where we haven't put our hands on it physically, there's like it doesn't look like it feels right. Also, I really kind of don't like that music from like that opening level,
that's where the Sonic 4 reference comes.
Yeah, because it just seems like it seems like a bad representation of they're trying to do the whole we're making music like the Mega Drive games did, like use their like sound font or whatever, and they're like this is kind of naff. The idea of doing like Mega Drive style music isn't naff, but like what they've come up with sounds kind of bad.
It's like they're using the sound font, but they don't actually know what the instruments even are. It's like that skill has been lost. Like no modern musician knows what these things are meant to sound like.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that's true. You just need to get.
No, I don't think that's true.
You just need to get a good chiptunist in, right?
Well, sure, but maybe they didn't, and maybe they just thought their regular sound team could handle it.
Or just bring back the Sonic Mania team.
Well, yes, but have them make the whole game.
Oh well, no, I meant not just the dev team, but just the music side. Like get T-Lopes back in, I mean, it could be good. They've got 4-player co-op in it now, which
doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I guess they just want a little bit of that Mario 4-player-ness.
Yeah, but that's never worked with Sonic, as we well know.
No.
From all the games where you can play as Tails, but not really play as Tails because he was never on the screen.
Yeah.
Now 3 people get to not be on the screen.
I mean, how is that even going to work? That's so strange. Unless that means there's going to be a massive compromise in stage design or something like in order to make it function. So I don't know. I'm hopeful, but not optimistic. How about that?
Okay.
Here's what I was talking about when I said there was like yet another Yakuza game coming out this year. Like a Dragon Gaiden is coming out September this year. We return to Kiryu somehow.
I mean, that would be what Gaiden would mean, I guess. You got to go back to the originals.
I mean, it's got a subtitle as well. It's like the man who erased his name, and it's like, who are you? And he's like nobody. Like what happened? What happened to? I mean, I don't know. I'm not up on the story. I'm not that far into the series. But it's like, what happened to Kiryu?
Well, I mean, I guess I get like. So what do you think Gaiden actually means usually? Right? It's like it's sort of sometimes almost rebooty and like nuts, right?
Well, kind of. Apart from Ninja Gaiden, I guess is a series that was just called that.
Yeah, but that's a different thing. I meant as a subtitle,
and they've already used Kiwami, which is the literal translation means extreme,
right?
But I actually don't know what Gaiden means. So just being like hyper.
Is that what Kiwami means? Yakuza Extreme.
Pretty much, okay. Yeah. Extreme. No, okay. And just searching for the word Gaiden just tells me about Ninja Gaiden. Obviously. Maybe Gaiden doesn't actually mean anything.
I think it does. I'm pretty sure it does.
A Gaiden game is a work, or usually a video game, which takes place that refers to another work, but isn't really a sequel either.
Right, that's sort of what I was thinking. Like it's almost a reboot, but not really.
Kinda, yeah, like referential, but not necessarily a sequel. So maybe it is a spin-off game.
I mean, maybe it's an alternate timeline.
Yeah,
where he is less important somehow.
I mean, I could have just gone down the research and figured out what that was about. But anyway, more Yakuza games. Like 3 in a year. I'm never going to catch up at this rate. They're going to be making more games than than the rate I could play them at.
Probably.
I could play them at their rate, but
that'd be the only thing you'd be playing.
Yeah, I kind of like the 1 a year cadence I'm on, but anyway, Yeah, there's that. Get hype. Also, I mean, my one note here, he's got some kind of magic tether in the gameplay trailer they show, which is a bit strange. Like he's like almost glowing Spider-Man-ing people's weapons out of their hands and stuff. Probably means they're sort of taking the same sort of like. I mean, I kind of actually hope they're taking a kind of like well, this is like a dragon, but even dumber approach to it. but then the trailer is like again in very much like that super self-serious kind of tone they go for in the story.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be excellent. We got to see a lot more of Immortals of Avium, which is that. I'm only mentioning it because we've mentioned it a few times here before, and I think we talked about it last podcast as well. Dude Bro Magic fantasy shooter, which is, as it turns out, coming out this year, and pretty soon at that, I think. So go check that out. Potentially good. And in Keeley's words, the rumors were true. Final Fantasy Rebirth is arriving early 2024. So that is, that's the new chapter, the part 2 of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
They finally made it to part 2 after like a weird 1.5 extra games they shoved in the middle.
The expansion thing, and then Crisis Core Remake, and whatever the hell else they've been working on. Final Fantasy 16.
Oh, well, that's not related.
Yeah. So we will actually get that game and find out how they're going to do the whole world map thing. They didn't really say, they just showed shots of it and, a lot of familiar looking cutscenes in that trailer.
Right.
Like, here's like hovering guy talking about Gaia and what's going on with the planet and things like that. What was his name? Hovering guy? Anyway, at Red 13's village, but
he had that weird German-esque name, didn't he?
Oh, did he? Like Heigen or something? No,
you're thinking of Heidegger.
Yeah, I am thinking of Heidegger. Anyway, go with a ball instead of legs.
So we're going to get a nice, weird, everybody floated this space cutscene thing going on.
Possibly, yeah.
Whatever that was. Explain the planet.
Yeah. I mean, unsurprisingly, it looks real good. Those are my picks from the SGF main show. The one thing I picked out today are the devs, which is Double Fine's kind of indie presentation. Is a game that might fall into Zach's category called Mars First Logistics. That seemed to be about making robots to lift precise things to precise locations. Like imagine Besiege, right? But without the stupidity aspect of it, and it's about serious transportation.
I mean, I can think of like probably about 2 other games at least that I've played demos of that are basically the same thing.
I mean, it's sort of in Astroneer's camp as well, right? Isn't it? Or...
Well, not really. Astroneer's not about robots or custom buildings.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Then there's one of those spacey ones that's like block based, like roboteering.
Yes, there's several.
Yeah. Anyway, it might be. I mean, it's got. It stood out to me not just because of that, but because it has the art style that is very reminiscent of Sable. That kind of cell shaded,
that's cool.
French comic book palette kind of thing.
Well, that definitely is slightly weird. Doesn't just look like Unity like all the other ones
do.
No.
I think it had a good look. Yeah, it stood out as one of those. I was going to say, I didn't see nearly as many farm games as I was expecting.
I mean, there were still a few.
There were still a few, but it wasn't like a flood of them.
But they've already all released.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true. The year of farm games is already over. Future game show. A couple of things on my radar from here. Resistor, which I need to go and find out more about, self-describes itself as a car PG, but it had a kind of cool-looking trailer with anime-style racing, and it's about the building up your racing team and stuff like that. And I don't know. I have absolutely no idea how this plays. The fact that they called it a car PG makes me worry that you're not actually going to do any racing, because that was my immediate hope for it when I saw it. It was just like, oh, holy shit, this is like a really cool racing game with like a badass story behind it. And oh my God, I want some of this. And then they said car PG. And I'm like, oh, maybe I don't get to race at all. Oh, no. It's on my radar.
Like Motorsport Manager.
Which I do kind of want to play at some point. Motorsport Manager is supposed to be pretty cool.
Sure.
No, we'll ignore that one. I don't know why. I was meant to delete that off my list. I was just noting everything that came out in 2023 for the League purposes. Lords of the Fallen is getting another game this year, apparently. I can't even remember what that was. Was that like EA's attempt at making a Dark Souls or something, or someone else's attempt at making a Dark Souls?
Probably.
Team 17, I mean, this trailer tells you absolutely nothing. I'm just interested in what a Rhythm Royale could be. There's this game called Headbangers Rhythm Royale, and the trailer just had nothing but pigeons doing stuff. I don't know. But what is out this year? But what could a Rhythm Royale be to you? Is it I was thinking like, is it Fall Guys, but everything is to the music?
Yeah, it would just be like Fall Guys, but crossed with whatever that game that came out this year was called. God damn, how have I already forgotten?
The hyper thingy.
A hyper thingy. I'd play that.
I don't know. Whatever it's called. The one that's good.
Yes, the one game that's good.
No.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hyper. Okay, Hi-Fi. Fair enough.
I had to really stretch to think what you were thinking of there, but like, the one thing that was good. Oh, yeah, Hi-Fi Rush.
It'll be Fall Guys crossed with that. The beat will happen through, everyone will be on the same song, basically. And then when you meet another person, and then you do whoever does the rhythm the best wins.
You reckon it'll be fighting? Like,
no, I don't actually know at all.
Like, from that trailer, I don't think there's any real combat.
Well, I mean, fighting as in you're playing the beat game at the same time. Like when you're doing multiplayer, like not Crystal Chronicles, Theatre Rhythm.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, who knows? It's intriguing, but I haven't bothered to go and look up what it actually is.
If there is even any more information at this point.
And I've noted the Last Faith. I think a bit of me thought it looked cool, but I can't remember why now. It's fallen out of my memory, so never mind. Moving on. Xbox Showcase. Is this the redemption year for Xbox and their first-party content? Let's find out.
They're certainly trying.
Yeah, Fable is on the way. It's a thing. You know, I think they sort of semi-announced it before, but now we've got to see
make a Fable, any kind of Fable after, I guess, the last motion-controlled one, and they keep trying.
I mean, that was the last, yeah. Like, there hasn't been a post-Lionhead Fable game.
They did try several times, and they kept getting cancelled.
So who the fuck is making this one?
Playground Games.
Oh, okay.
Better known for Forza Horizon.
Forza. Are they just expanding to the point where they?
Yeah, I think this is a second team.
Okay.
Within Playground.
I mean, fair.
They didn't announce when this was going to be ready or not yet, but hey, it's making progress. The one thing I've like taken away from this is like people were looking at the shots of like Richard Ayoade as a giant and being like, oh, that's not in engine. To which the Fable team then turned around and said, oh yeah, no, this is all rendered in engine. The game actually looks like this. We take all these like doubters as a compliment.
I mean, I don't know what the people were seeing there that made them think it wasn't real.
I mean, it did look pretty good.
But I think that's just what games look like nowadays, right?
Yeah, well,
I mean, for film CGI, it looked ropey. For in-game, it looked real good. Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good Richard Ayoade. Has that ever happened before in a game? I don't know. We ever just had him. It didn't actually show any gameplay, but apparently the trailer was all in engine, so that's something.
I mean, I'm more heartened by the fact that it's Playground. I think that's good. That bodes well.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played a Fable game, but
I have, but not like. I don't think I ever finished one.
Yeah,
Fable 2 was quite good, but I just didn't really like the kind of Britishy style or whatever worked better in like black and white and other like Lionhead games for me than it did in Fable. I thought it was a bit laid on a bit thick in Fable.
Yes, I can't.
And the whole thing of like, oh, you've got a dog, and that was some Molyneux bullshit, basically.
Yeah, so maybe now it's free of the Molyneux. Like this might actually be a more hype-worthy game. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
it's still,
true.
I don't know where Playground are based, but like Turn 10, like I'm assuming Playground are British because Turn 10, obviously the other Forza studio, they're British, so it would make sense that Playground are British as well.
Yeah, but, I believe they are. Yeah.
So. And they called out in this thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's got that British humor you all know and love. It's like they will be leaning into the Britishness of this hard still.
Oh, they will, yeah. But I must say, like, if you want British humor, Richard Ioward is the right direction.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, no, he's dry. Like that's what you want. Like,
I mean, he's not going to be a main character because they've clearly just basically already shown that he's just like. The giant is a boss that you kill.
What a mission.
It's kind of already been like shown that that's what's going to happen. But still,
what was it? I kind of did a smash cut from OOF to Fable, right? That's quite good.
Yes.
Fable. Yeah, that's good. That works. I mean, it's a classic joke.
Yeah.
But it works.
It worked for me. Yeah, I think I'm more I don't think I've ever been particularly interested in Fable. Other than that one time John Cleese was in it, and it's like that sounded kind of interesting, but still wasn't enough to actually get me to play it.
No.
Was maybe I'm in this time.
Oh well.
I mean, I've not got an excuse because Game Pass.
Yeah, but exactly. Maybe you're in because you'll just have it as usual.
Yeah.
Oh, what's stopping you going back and playing Fable 3?
I don't know that the older Fable games are on Game Pass. I think some of them might be on. I think they might be on the backwards compatibility list, but I don't know if they've made it. Anyway, it's time investment these days, isn't it? Like,
oh yeah, totally. I don't think
like Tears of the Kingdom is a problem. Like,
get your head around
yeah.
The Fable games are overrated, I think, in my opinion. So far, but like Tears of the Kingdom isn't. So play that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm hopeful. But in a more optimistic way than Sonic Superstars.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's going to be a way off. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's not even a date attached. There's not even a year attached to this. So maybe next year, maybe. But like, don't get too hopeful.
I just hope it's good.
Yeah, I think the same was true of Avowed, which showed up at this showcase as well, which was the Obsidian-made Elder Scrolls. Like, it's not an Elder Scrolls game, but Obsidian are making a game that's a lot like Elder Scrolls. Like a lot like Elder Scrolls, as it turns out.
Yep. Probably even to the point of like there being basically Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
Judging by some of the story elements they seem to be putting into that trailer.
Yeah. I don't think they said when that's coming out yet either, but that's been silent for a few years, and it's nice to see that pop up. Not just because it's an Obsidian game, and everyone loves Obsidian, but put out games. That's all anyone wants from Microsoft right now.
Yes, for the Xbox. Put out games for the Xbox.
Skipping ahead by one to that end, Hellblade 2, not coming out this year again. But they have at least slapped a 2024 on it. I don't think they've ever actually slapped a year on when Hellblade 2 was going to come out before. So, huzzah, I guess. Although people have been calling them out, saying why on earth did you use that trailer? Because it's, yes, they're trying to highlight the sort of I guess it's them going back to Senua hears herself and all the voices in her head kind of thing. But the trailer isn't. It feels like you've just walked in on a movie with no context, right? And it's hard to have that kind of self-indulgent scene without some kind of grounding to what's going on. She just goes into a cave and something weird is going to happen.
Yeah, but that's sort of the point, isn't it? Right?
I mean, a lot of Hellblade 1 was like that. Yeah,
but the point of the game is it's all her internal shit going on, and like that's kind of like.
But there was
going to show gameplay, probably.
I mean, they, in theory, they still haven't, right? They said that fight against the beach troll or whatever was gameplay, but it's like how much of that was actually you're in control. But we still don't know any of that. Like, what are you actually doing?
The actual physical gameplay is probably not really the interesting part of that game.
No. But then is it just like a visual showcase? Is it a film? An interactive movie? I mean, that'd be fine if they just told us that's what it is. We got another Yakuza trailer.
Well, from the other game.
For a different game.
Yep.
That's out next year. And this is the one I thought, I'm guessing must be the new name for Like a Dragon 8. Infinite Wealth sees Ichigo naked on a beach in America. What's going on here? Is this the first time the Yakuza series or Like a Dragon series has gone international? I think it might be.
Is this going to...
Is this the jump the shark moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, are we finally going to get different minigames because they're all in America now? Go to the shooting range.
Yeah.
Go bowling. I mean
bowling's already there.
Go bowling in a more American way, whatever that means.
Beer pong. That's going to be the new game, right?
Oh, God, maybe. If you're in a California beach or whatever.
Cornhole.
Rodeo.
Yes! Oh, man.
But what's going to replace the hostess, though?
Cornhole's that thing with the
Playboy Ranch.
With weird little sacks of...
Yeah, you throw beanbags in holes. It's the universal game mechanic. Like, distilled.
We should get one of those for the gardens so we can put things in holes.
So we can cornhole in the garden. That sounds so wrong, doesn't it? It just sounds like it's a euphemism. Like, get well cornholed. I mean, obviously no gameplay shown, so we don't. I don't know if we know. I mean, this is me with my useless research and stuff like that. I don't know if we know whether they're going to continue down the RPG trappings of Like a Dragon 7.
Right.
Like, I assume they will.
But then again, maybe not. Maybe they'll completely mix up the gameplay again.
Yeah, maybe
just out of the blue.
Maybe they'll do something weird. Yeah.
Maybe this will be a tactics game.
Oh my gosh, I'd be down for that. Capcom are making something new, a new IP called Knitsugami, Path of the Goddess. You would be forgiven for not knowing that first part because the logo doesn't have that in English. It's just massive Japanese characters. Knitsugami. Now you know. I mean, it kind of looks like Japanese folklore Dark Souls, maybe? It's hard to know. It was like character action kind of thing with a very strong, like, Japanese demonic vibe. I
mean, basically, that already came out not more than 2 years ago from a different person already.
What, are you thinking Sekiro or something like that?
Well, that, yes, also. But, like, it's on trend, basically.
It's on trend, yeah. Not Trek to Yomi, but I guess that's in that same sort of, like, Japanese hell kind of thing. I mean, it's by Capcom, so yeah, I think you can carry some amount of like optimism. I mean, it's the Devil May Cry makers, potentially. Although they didn't explicitly say it was the Devil May Cry team that were making this, but I mean, I think you can make some assumptions there. Probably one to keep an eye on if you're a character action fan. Persona 5 is getting a tactics game.
Yes. Actually.
Speaking of tactics games, it's just called Persona 5 Tactica. They couldn't just call it Tactics.
They mistyped.
They mistyped.
It's supposed to be an S.
Yeah. Whoops. Oh no, actually, I like that. We'll keep that. Just as well, it wasn't Tactic D.
Tacticked.
Tacticked.
Not tacticked.
No, definitely not tacticked. I mean, yeah, it looks like a Persona game, but with a grid.
Yeah.
Persona fans, go nuts.
Well, not as much as for the other Persona thing, I guess.
Not for the other. Well, which is not a Persona thing, right? That was. I don't even think I've even put that in my list. What Metaphor Fantasia?
I meant the remake of Persona 3.
Oh, Persona 3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. People like Persona 3.
Yes.
And I guess the only remake it ever had was the portable expansion. So yeah, I suppose it's good that it's getting a proper remake. Didn't they just re-release that not that long ago?
Yes,
as well.
They did.
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Well, I think it was like they probably re-released it and then realised that people liked it.
I was like, oh, holy shit! People love Persona 3,
or at least people would like to like Persona 3 more if it was a more modern game. So maybe we should remake it.
Yeah, maybe. I just was it Jeff Gerstmann's like undying love for Chie, stuff like that.
That's 4.
Oh, is that 4?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that is 4. Yeah, you're right. I forget we're on 5 now for some reason. Even though I just said it, like I still forget we're on 5.
Yep.
Sort of. I'm including it because it looked like it was a bit of an outlier in terms of how things looked. Like Jusant, which, as far as I can tell, was like, do you like the climbing sections from Uncharted? What if we had an entire game that was about climbing?
God damn.
This is the game for you.
I mean, you could make a fun climbing game, I'm sure.
I mean,
I guess.
I think there's been like 2 or 3 of those in the last few years as well from various people. Yeah. Just climbing.
Yeah, it's probably been. I mean, there's been plenty of attempts in VR.
Well, sure.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, but it just sort of stood out as like, oh, this is an interesting looking thing. It has a nice art style. Sort of like, what if it has an art style that sort of reminds me a little bit like, what if you made Tears of the Kingdom in Unreal 5, like one of those fan project kind of things. But better animated than those tend to be, you know.
Maybe. I didn't think it looked like super hardcore graphics.
No. But like stylized to some degree is what I mean. But like,
sure. But that's normally what you get when you get the game made, a game in the Unreal Engine. Sure. Is when they blow it out with ridiculous polygons.
You end up with Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this says about me, but I'm kind of being drawn in by Cyberpunk's new trailers.
Well, I mean, you played the game.
I played the game and was kind of like, I thought it was okay, not. I mean, it was okay. I'll upgrade it. It was good, not great, not amazing. An acceptably good time. But I don't know. Like I think there's something about Cyberpunk's like marketing and how the game just like tries to look that works with me. And then you play the game, and it's not quite nailing, and it's not quite as good as that looks. If you know what I mean.
Know. Yeah.
So it's like I'm watching the Phantom Liberty, trailer, going, "Damn, this looks really good," and then remembering, and then having to remind myself about what playing that game was actually like minute to minute. And anyway, that's out September. And it is a DLC. I was getting a bit confused. Like, is this like a standalone expansion and stuff like this? But it is DLC. You do have to play. I think you have to play the game, the base game, up to a certain point, and then it becomes active. And it is just an extension to V's storyline. So it's not a split off in any way. It is just part of the story, which I guess makes sense because they got Keanu back to do more stuff for it.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, he was there. He was at the Xbox conference.
There, whatever that means. Yeah, in this case,
being breathtaking.
I mean, he's always amazing. Although, as we pointed out while we were watching it, something was clearly wrong with how they were miking up that set.
Yeah,
like, the audio for Keanu was like.
It looked like it was ADR, but like it probably wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was just overly compressed and just sounded really fuzzy and weird because it wasn't so bad when Phil Spencer was talking, but you got hints of it when Phil was talking, and it's not quite. Yeah. Anywho, they got more Keanu, so that's good. But also, this one's going to be filled with Idris Elba as well. So Keanu and Idris Elba, ooh, good mix potentially. I don't know have those two ever acted together before.
Not that I know. That could be good.
Could be interesting. I don't think they've said whether that's part of Game Pass or not, so I might not actually have access to it. So in which case, screw you.
I mean, you have a copy, right?
I've got a disc of Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Physical media.
I know.
Wow. Not very cyberpunk, but
it's the most cyberpunk, surely.
No, I guess, yeah.
If you could insert the disc directly into your head somehow.
Yeah.
Via a disc drive.
I mean, you should check out Stone Ocean from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I'm sure.
There's a lot of that going on. Discs just in and out of people's heads. Just straight up DVDs, just in your face. And I will call out, I forgot to write it down, but Sea of Thieves is doing that thing again, a bit like Cyberpunk, where a bit of me goes, maybe I should check this out again. Because they're doing a whole story expansion based on Monkey Island.
Right.
And it kind of looks rad.
Yeah,
and
good idea, obviously.
But I don't know if it's just Sea of Thieves being very good at what they do with trailers. Because I haven't checked back in since that game launched, really. I haven't seen basically anything that they've done since the initial version. And the initial version left me a little bit disappointed that there just wasn't much there.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't very varied in what you were actually doing. Like the core hilarity of having 4 people trying to work together to navigate a ship was fantastic. But that's all it was. You could get that shit together, and then the game isn't fun anymore. It wasn't fun. So I'm hoping, that some of their expansions over the last, God, how long has it been? Many years at this point, have actually addressed some of that, and having these story sections might be that. But then I can't see how they would work particularly well because of the multiplayer trappings of that game, right? How do they actually play out? I can't see it, but also it seems to be presented real good. And Guybrush Threepwood is kind of a bum in his own kingdom now, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, that makes sense for the character.
That was the Xbox show. The one bit of news that sort of came out after the Xbox show that is of interest is that Microsoft have dropped their pledge to make games that will come out on Xbone as well as Series X. So that phase is now over. If you're holding out on your Xbone, it's probably time to get a Series. It's probably time. Treat yourself.
Because at least you can get one.
I mean, yeah, you can. They're quite readily available now. And they're making a new Series S. If you want that 1 terabyte and you don't like your consoles being white, you can get a black Series S now. It's like making an Elite version of the 360 all over again, except the Elite version already exists and it's called the Series X.
It's the unelite version.
the
carbon black.
Delete.
That's so weird. So they showed some Forza, did they? I mean,
yeah, it didn't really actually show up in the showcase, right? It did briefly, but not
trailer in an extremely trailery trailer.
Not like a proper
gameplay. Even,
I mean,
really.
they'd already done.
It was gameplay, but
they have put out on YouTube and stuff like that, extended look trailers and at the game, and it's I'm hype. I want to play this thing.
Yeah, it looks good.
I mean, kind of what I've been waiting for a long time, like a proper Forza game I can sink my, proper track racing game I want to sink my teeth into. And yes, I could have gotten Gran Turismo if I'd owned a PS5, but I've made my feelings about my distaste for Gran Turismo over the years pretty clear. So it's just, I'm sure it's great. It's just not for me. Something's always felt off.
Whereas Forza fits you.
Yeah, Forza Motorsport always clicked. And we haven't had one of those for a while. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, the only other one was the Star Wars, but I guess there's the Ubisoft thing.
Oh yeah, that was the thing I skipped over and then didn't go back to. Yes, they made that. This was it made its first showing at the Xbox thing, and yes, it came up at Ubisoft Forward. We might as well talk about that now. Do you want some Assassin's Division in space?
I maybe kind of do.
Then
yes.
Then this is what that game is.
I think it looked quite good, honestly. It's like
it's hard to say it didn't, but also like you can see where it's pulling from. Like
yeah, you
quite,
can. Yeah,
I mean, Ubisoft don't seem to have an original bone in their body anymore. Like
no, I suppose.
With the their smaller projects seem to be the only things that seem to be innovating.
I mean, I like some of the smaller, like the character design and of the robot, of the droid or whatever, and stuff like that was good. Like some of the art direction looked quite good for that planet. Looked quite cool, and it looked. I know it looked smooth. I don't know if is that the Assassin's Creed engine or the Unreal engine? I don't know, but it looked pretty good.
I bet it's Snowdrop, which is
really?
They didn't explicitly say it, but Snowdrop is Ubisoft's like in-house engine.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because it does big open worlds or whatever. But it looked pretty good, and like that is, even if it is not original, it is kind of the game that like kind of everyone always wanted. The I'm a bounty hunter in Star Wars, and I can get in my ship anytime and fly to space and land on another planet.
Essentially, Han Solo without you being Han Solo, right?
I mean, that's why exactly. Everyone was super pissed about the 1313 that never came out.
Exactly.
It was that was what that game was meant to be.
Sure.
Sort of, but that was like you were actually going to play Boba Fett, I think, in that game, and then they like completely recanonized and changed everything. But yeah, so they've just come up with this, and she looks fine for like a Han Solo-y type. Or whatever.
I was going to say this in general about Ubisoft at the moment, where I mean, she as a character looks fine, apart from the word "looks." Where I think Ubisoft have dropped the ball on facial animation. I think
I think
both
that's probably
this
true,
and Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Yeah,
they've fallen behind. Something that they don't look right anymore.
I really like the character design for some reason of the like Mon Calamari the
broker guy,
psychic lady. Is it a guy? I think it's a lady at the end. She's got I mean, I don't mean psychic as in. She's got lots of jewelry and stuff. You know what I mean? Like
more than mystic. You mean?
Yeah, mystic. Yeah, mystic calamari lady was cool. I thought. Anyway, when she's at the table with the imperial officer or whatever, and she has the choice.
That was a lady. I don't know why. I just saw like something about the calamaris, where I just always like put them as dudes in my head.
As dudes, yeah. Like, well, most of the ones you see are.
It's a trap.
But I like that character design, and I like the idea of like. You can bribe the Empire, but if you don't, then it was like full on Grand Theft Auto wanted system. I didn't quite, even though it's the thing that everyone always wanted. The transition from planet to space wasn't quite good enough.
I mean, it took a while, right? That they just, I mean, perhaps it's one of those things they should have trailerized, but it's just like, we were in the atmosphere. What can we see? Grey.
Yeah,
and we're going to sit here for a minute.
I don't actually mind like the clouds obscuring a loading pause, but when they came out of it, it didn't feel like a natural transition into the orbit of space. There needed to be a little bit of you see the stars and you fly into orbit, because what it seemed like was, now I'm in a space level. Like
I see what you mean.
The clouds cleared and it didn't physically make sense, like that you were in orbit of the planet you just left. And I was like, that's kind of disappointing. But it looked cool when they went to light speed or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, they've been good at that for a while though, right? Like, sure. I say they. I guess this is Ubisoft's first stab of it. Like Respawn did a really good job in Jedi, right, to make that look nice.
So I like the idea of an open world kind of Star Wars game, and I like the droid. I like some of the character design. The stealth looked pretty ropey. Like she got onto, even in those like carefully curated thing for a trailer, she like grabs onto a moving
the box
platform,
that would clearly have been
the guy doesn't even look around.
It clearly would have been in front of the dude that was just walking there.
It doesn't make any sense.
Hot take. This is what Beyond Good and Evil 2 became.
Well, I think this is what Beyond Good and Evil 2 would have been regardless.
Yeah.
It would have been an Ubisoft game.
That probably, you're right, yeah. This probably makes more sense.
Because it's got the planetary thing. It's got, like, taking off the thing. It's got that same broker, shady deal thing. In that, like everything about this trailer was pushing my... This is like that Beyond Good and Evil 2 trailer, just, like, in Star Wars instead of in
maybe.
Instead of without a monkey guy.
Anyway,
a giant pig broker, So we've got a fish broker instead. Like
we got a fish broker instead of a pig broker. Yeah, I'm sort of slightly optimistic about Star Wars Outlaws. I think it looks okay.
I think it will.
We'll see.
I think it will. Yeah, I don't know. I've got that like it'll be fine feeling about it. My concern is that I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's anything there that I felt like oh, I haven't seen this before. Right, I guess we hadn't seen it in the Star Wars universe before.
Well, that's it.
But like, I didn't. I
like the sort of quick draw. Like she shot the blaster really fast, like Red Dead kind of style. That was cool. That obviously that's very Han Solo, but it's nothing new. But it's like I thought it looked like a decent combination of stuff. Yeah, that's what you could do these days if you want to. Like, obviously, one can be original, but you're not going to get any investment or money. You have to play it safe to make money.
Not out of a big publisher. It's
so the best you can do is like remix good elements together that are, so that it's still a safe investment, but you make a fun game out of it.
Which
I mean, that's cynical.
Is
but
the tone of the Ubisoft show in general.
The tone of the entirety of Ubisoft.
Yeah. Because let's spin off from that, like, because Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora was shown off as kind of their big ticket item, I suppose.
Right.
And boy, this is Far Cry.
Yeah,
on Pandora.
I mean, they know how to make Far Cry, so
they've just added some birds. Like what the woo woo
Far Cry with birds.
They woo woo their way fast.
Yeah, I mean they've added the Acron, I guess, and that's kind of the thing. Like it does very much just look like Far Cry with some flight, which they kind of already had, right? There was some flying in the previous Far Cry games.
Yeah, you could fly a literal plane, couldn't you? In the American one, whatever,
and in 4, I want to say as well. I think there was some flight stuff in 4. Some helicopter stuff.
Like 6? Like
5. No, so you're right. 6 was the last one.
Yeah, because they did one in like South America or something,
yes,
didn't they?
You're right.
That no one seemed to.
So they haven't announced a Far Cry 7, so I assume the Far Cry team was working on this.
Probably.
I mean, makes sense. I don't think that can't have been a big success, that last Far Cry, because I didn't hear about it.
I don't think it blew up. No, and I'm not even sure
it had the baddie, right? It was the guy from Breaking Bad, who's the baddie in literally everything, including Star Wars.
Giancarlo Esposito, who's awesome. Yeah. But still, I don't know if 5 and 6 did as well as Ubisoft had hoped. Like 4 was the last big one, I think, and I don't think the previous 2. I mean, 5 had cultural problems, right? That wound people up the wrong way for storytelling reasons, and I think people were just sort of bored of it by 6. I don't know if there was a real problem with 6. It just wasn't interesting at that point. It had run its course. So it makes sense that they would switch tack to this. But yeah, as I say, it's just I just got too much Far Cry vibe. It just looked like it. Like I wasn't quite sure I got the Navi out of it. Right. Like, from the actual gameplay they showed, I didn't quite get the Navi stuff, other than when you were on the back of an Acron. But also, I noticed on Xbox this game is going for a £70 pre-order, and that's for the base version. Which means, are we now into the territory where a $70 game means a £70 game here? It's like I don't think that trend has truly become a thing here, because Breath of the Wild was £60, like base price, like RIP. You can get it cheaper than that. I noticed Mortal Kombat 1 is 65, so that's pushing it a little bit higher. Don't know, slightly. I don't know, that's a bit worrying. It's like that's the base version of the game. I should point out, like it's not even a special edition or anything. That's of which there already is one.
Well, naturally,
because Ubisoft probably has an iconic hat in it. I don't know. Anyway, Avatar. That game's actually coming this year, December. Just in time for the Year of the Way of Water, I suppose.
Just in time to come out in the same year as the film, I guess.
even true? Did it come out this year? I can't even remember now.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah. Also, to add fuel to the they are not innovative fire, they're making Call of Duty. Except it's called X-Defiant now.
Is this one of the like weird Chinese games that have been?
I don't think so. That was Crossfire X. Was like the last one they tried.
Annoyingly similar, but
yeah.
But is this not another one of those?
No, I think X-Defiant is a brand new development, in-house thing. That's been in closed beta for a while. But I say closed beta. They made a big deal of like, hey, the last beta we ran wasn't under NDA, so streamers have been playing it. And
why is this not somehow a Tom Clancy game? It's got the another Ghost Recon.
Yeah, it's not Ghost Recon because Rainbow Six is fine. They don't need to touch Siege anymore, and nobody cared about Extraction, so it's like let's leave that quiet.
Yeah, but this would be the deathmatch version of the Siege universe,
I guess. I mean, that is mildly surprising. Yeah, I suppose they could have just worked it all in. But no, they're making a Call of Duty. That's what this looks like.
Is it a story?
No.
Or is it just going to be pure multiplayer?
They showed nothing but multiplayer.
Well, yeah, that doesn't mean that's not going to be a story, I guess.
No, I guess that doesn't. But that was all they showed and talked about.
Because without any kind of Tom Clancy trappings, I mean, that would be where the story would be. But, like, who cares about multiplayer shooters with boring, generic, military-esque stuff going on? I
say there's no Tom Clancy trappings. It's not a Tom Clancy game, but they have kind of said that they will be, like, their seasons are going to traverse... I'm going to call it the Ubiverse. They didn't say that, but, like, they're going to go across the various Ubisoft properties.
In what way, though? So what ones even fit apart from...
So they already showed a character wearing Sam Fisher, like, night vision goggles.
Sure, that doesn't mean anything.
No, but their specific phrasing was, you'll be surprised where we're going. Shrug. They didn't show any of that.
I mean, it would be cool if this is, like, the base game that they start with is like generic Call of Duty, but then suddenly you're in like a first-person shooter that's in a Rayman somehow.
I mean, I hope that's what they do. That would be great. I mean, it is sort of a hero shooter,
right?
Like, is the other thing. So it's like there are, I guess, operators, like to use the Rainbow Six Siege parlance. Like you pick a faction, and those factions have characters within them that have certain special abilities. But COD's been doing that for years as well, so I don't think it's too far from that. Also, don't do this. Don't do this, Ubisoft. Don't do this to me, specifically. This is an insult to me. Well, it's not an insult. I don't know anything about Roller Champions. Is that the Roller Derby multiplayer game thing? I don't know what that is.
Maybe.
Anyway, there's a game called Roller Champions about roller skates. And they've somehow done a deal with Sega to bring the Rudies from Jet Set Radio to it as skins. And I'm like, don't do this to me. I mean, I know Bomb Rush Side
of that? What are they doing?
Roller Champions is getting skins of Beat and Gum from Jet Set Radio. And it's like, okay, I see what you did there, but also don't do this to me. Sega, come on, man. don't pull the Jet Set Radio string now. How weird is that?
Yeah. Obviously, they should have made a deal with Team Reptile.
They absolutely should have done. I bet Team Reptile reached out at some point to be like, can we do this? And Sega were like,
no, we've already made this other deal.
Yeah. I mean, like, wasn't Jet Set Radio like one of those like rumored Sega super games or something? Like back when they were talking about that they were going to revisit Jet Set Radio under whatever the super game guise means.
Mm.
So maybe it's not in Sega's interests, and this is. Maybe it's like early marketing for the super game.
Maybe.
But they didn't announce. Sega haven't said anything, so nothing to announce at this time. Also, the next trailer was hilarious because it looked like Skate 4. Like, it looked like a Skate game, but it's not Skate. It's like they're just adding Skate to Riders Republic. Like, Riders Republic is getting skateboarding. And it's like, that doesn't fit with the rest of the game, so this must be like a completely set, like... Unless they're like high-speed skateboarding down mountains, or
I mean, longboarding, maybe, I guess.
Yeah. I just thought that was kind of funny. It's like, this looks like Skate 4. Oh, no, wait, of course it can't be Skate 4. It's Ubisoft. Yep. Oh, it's Riders Republic. Okay. The Crew. They're making another one of those. And
like free?
This is the third one, yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, but is it going to actually be free?
No, it's called the Crew Motorfest because they want to eat Forza Horizon's lunch so hard.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a festival of motorsport.
Wasn't the Crew kind of already that?
Kinda, but not quite all the way in. Not like a physical festival. I don't think it was quite Horizon, but it was getting there. And it's also set in Hawaii, which looks a lot like Mexico. It's basically Forza Horizon 5.
How do you even emulate that? That must have been so expensive to make Forza Horizon. So.
Yeah. It's just like you've maybe they started on this before they knew Forza Horizon 5 was going to be in Mexico or something like that. But like, I don't know, man.
Well, but doing it in Hawaii is obvious because it's an island, and therefore you don't have to worry about world borders.
Yeah,
that's actually one of the problems with the Forza games that take place in any kind of continental setting.
I think is it the last Crew game that was supposed to represent a coast-to-coast mini America?
Yes,
right.
I think so.
They're just. I don't know. I was watching that trailer for Motorfest thinking it's like, oh, but they were making such a big deal. And you can go to the beach, and you can go to the jungles, and you can go up a volcano. And it's like, we did all that. We did all that in the last Forza game. You're quite late, guys. I guess they've got planes and the F1 license.
Okay.
They've got that because they had that in Crew 2 as well.
But not Hot Wheels.
They haven't got Hot Wheels, no. And nobody seems to like how the Crew handles, like, actual racing people, like, aren't really into...
It's not meant to be an actual racing game, though, obviously.
No. I don't know. I'm surprised. I'm surprised they went back to the Crew. Unless they have just improved their handling model, so it's,
different.
A way better game. But they didn't talk about that. Assassin's Creed Mirage. My one note here says ropey faces that I mentioned before. But boy, they weren't kidding when they said they were going to make something more like Assassin's Creed 1. Because this looks almost identical to Assassin's Creed 1.
Right.
Except it's not Altair. Like, the main guy seems like not a dick.
Right.
Which might be important. Well, they're bringing over some stuff, so you can still do eagle reconnaissance is still a thing. So, you can have magic eagle powers.
When was that introduced with the
Origins, I think? Yeah.
The Egypt one?
Yeah, that is the Egypt one.
That's the first kind of modern one, right?
Yeah. So this the first like ridiculous open world one, I suppose.
Yeah.
The reimagining. Yes, you've still got your eagle reconnaissance, although they did show in the trailer that there are enemies that are classed as marksmen that would shoot at your eagle, so you couldn't do reconnaissance in certain areas.
So it's not fully transitioned to being actual magic yet.
Wait for it. During the bit where they show an assassination, or clearly, but like part of the mission where this guy's going to assassin, he basically marks 3 targets and then Shadow of Mordor's into all 3 of them, like teleports into them and goes zoop, 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 and then like, okay, so you do have magic then. You can just zip to guys and kill them now, can you? Didn't make any sense. Everything else about this game looked like, oh, cool, you are actually doing the classic Assassin's Creed thing, and you're doing it seemingly well, like it looked good. And then the magic happened, and I'm just like, you might have just turned me off this whole thing completely, just in one little ability. Actually, and then I second guess myself as I am right now, because a bit of me is going, yes, but less stealth. Just, or easier stealth, I should say. But yeah, this is Assassin's Creed 1. Other than that,
Okay.
And then Star Wars Outlaws, as we talked about it, and they had a very, very tiny trailer for Assassin's Creed Project Jade, which is the China one, which would have been cool were it not a mobile game.
It would have been cool as in the setting kind of concept. Sure. Okay.
That's pretty much all my notes from this not E3. E-less 3.
No Nintendo thing yet.
No Nintendo thing.
If they're even going to do one. Who knows?
Nintendo will do it on their own time.
Yeah, they'll just appear at some point.
Well, it's lucky they didn't at the same time, because this podcast would have gone very long. I think it probably already has.
I mean, we're getting there, but...
Yeah.
We only have one game to talk about, except
Good
not.
news.
Except we don't have one game to talk about, because I've played something else.
What else have you been playing, Rob?
I mean, mostly Tears of the Kingdom, let's be fair. Okay. Real curveball for you this week. I played a little game called Aqua Aqua on the PlayStation 2.
Don't remember that one.
This game has a subtitle. It's technically a sequel to Wetrix.
Yes, obviously.
What?
Wetrix 2.
Okay.
I didn't know this existed. I stumbled upon it while I was looking for Dreamcast stuff, like on eBay, being like, oh, what's about, like, I'm in two minds about, I think I mentioned it last podcast about whether I should try and pick up Power Stone and stuff like that and try and figure out what was the deal with Power Stone? Why does everyone like it? Intrigue. So I stumbled upon this thing. Like, they made a sequel to Wetrix, and it's the same game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any mechanical difference in it at all, other than what I would describe as a thematic downgrade. Like, it's not as mad as it used to be. Like, do you remember the sort of like early 2000s kind of like where things started to get a bit, where everyone liked rounded things and fonts got less cool and
yeah,
top of the pops, man. When it rebranded. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of got that early. It's very much that early 2000s vibe. Like, they've added cute characters to it, and they've.
Well, it's like what happened with Puzzle Bobble, basically.
I mean, Puzzle Bobble kind of did it way more successfully, right? They animated the crap out of Puzzle Bobble, right? And that worked.
Kind of.
This is like if you took. What was that kids' cartoon with like the semi-badly animated 3D animals, like CG animals?
Insufficient specificity.
But it was like CG. It was like a CGI cartoon, and it looks really ropey by today's standards. But at the time, it was kind of revolutionary, and it's kind of got that sort of vibe going for it in places. But anyway, it's the same game as Wetrix 1, but like as I say, it's just the presentation's not as good. Like. Or not as bombastic, I suppose, as the first game. The first game was nuts, right? Like, so it's for those that don't know what Wetrix is, it's a puzzle, I guess a Tetris-esque puzzle game, but instead of like just putting blocks down to then clear those blocks out by some pattern of some sorts, like lines or collections, the idea is to actually build an island in which you can contain water. So you'll get blocks to raise the land, blocks to lower the land, and then water to chuck on the land, and you've got to keep it contained. You've got to keep your lakes intact, and you get more bonuses for keeping multiple separate lakes, and even bigger bonuses for making deep lakes. And but then you've got to watch out for bombs that will land and make holes in your landscape, and you basically don't want to leak. It's about preventing leakage. Good advice. Prevent leakage.
Generally.
Anglian Water, we're looking at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you die basically after so much water has leaked off the side. But your main point scoring mechanism is then like timing to have nice big piles of water and then get a fireball and then burn the water off your landscape. And then you get a huge point boost off all your multipliers and stuff like that. And then you lose your drip meter goes down, so you stay alive a little longer. It's all about sort of balancing all of that stuff out. And don't have your terrain be too high or too tall or too spiky or Otherwise, you'll trigger an earthquake, which basically messes the entire landscape up, and you're basically all your water's going to fall off and you're going to die. So you're balancing all these things all at once. And as far as I can tell, none of that has changed between the two games. Like, nothing at all. The only thing they've really added is they have this thing called Story Puzzle now, which lets you pick 4 periods of time for some reason, and like during at 3 points during your play, a boss character of some sort will basically give you a score challenge, and you have to hit you have to score that many points within a certain period of time. It's not your total score. You have to score those points during that period of time that it suggests, and if you fail that, they will do something to the level. So one of them will basically cause like nasty contortions. One of them just straight up causes an earthquake, so it's pretty much instant death. One of the later levels, weirdly, is way easier than the others because it just burns the water off your level, and you're just like, well, that's fine, I'm still alive.
That's actually a bonus.
You don't score any points for it, but yeah, you're still going. And that's kind of it doesn't really add anything to the game. If anything, it's just an annoyance. And they replaced the worst offender though is they replaced the voice. Right, the cool robot voice is gone. The rubber ducks are gone, and they've been replaced with like plesiosaurs and turtles and things that don't make obnoxious duck quack noise all the time.
Obviously, that's what you don't want.
Well, yeah, so it's just this like cute voice now. So it's like 2 legs, 3 legs, 4 legs, rather than like the weird robot voice of 2 legs, rubber duck multiplier. They don't even say rubber duck multiplier anymore. It's disappointing. Like,
well, they wouldn't do if there weren't any rubber ducks.
That's not even announced. Like, and when the first time you get a rainbow in any playthrough, the game stops to make the little cute character, which is pointless, who's just walking around the landscape, just sort of have a little look at the rainbow and show you a nice camera angle of the rainbow. And it's like, don't do that. Don't interrupt my flow. I'd rather have a robot voice just go rainbow multiplier. It's not as good. Which then got me thinking maybe I should get Wetrix Plus for the Dreamcast, because, you know. But then we've got that PC version, which is still great. So, whatevs. Wetrix 2. Don't worry about it.
Aqua Aqua.
Yeah, Aqua Aqua. I mean, it's fine. It plays like Wetrix, but, you know, as I said, it's the same game, but it's just presentation's not as hot. So that was a fun few hours. Doing that, and then I went back and played Tears of the Kingdom, obviously.
Yeah. How's that going?
I mean, you should lead this conversation so we don't spoil you. Yeah.
The actual question is, how have you been doing with it now?
Okay, I had a little chance to play it earlier this week and a little bit this afternoon before I started this. I finished the first dungeon thing, whatever, the Wind Temple.
The Wind
thing.
One?
Yeah. And then I've just been rampaging over the map doing shrines, basically. Yeah.
I think I was still in the sort of honeymoon period with the game, like when I was doing that stuff, the Wind Temple stuff, because I quite liked the path, right? The chain.
Right,
the island
on the
chain.
way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
I mean, it's not very mechanical, really. There's not much to it. It's just one mechanic the whole way up.
The power of the
gust.
Turin, or what the name is.
And and I guess then you get the bounce pads kind of things. And
and the bounce pads. Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. Just gust and bounce, and just move between the bounce pads using the gust.
Bounce pads.
Yeah, but it gradually got a bit more hairy as it got higher and more bounce paddy.
Yep.
As you got to the top of the thing, and then it was a cool, I mean. Is that what we're saying? Is like it was roughly the same size, this first dungeon, as one of the first dungeon in Breath of the Wild, one of the Divine Beasts.
That's what as soon as I got to it, I was just like, oh, this is just a Divine Beast game. All those people who are saying, like, holy shit, they put in dungeons. It's like, no, they really haven't.
No, that one isn't, but I don't know, because maybe there's some coming. I mean,
well, I mean, as soon as you get to that one, and it's like, here's the 5 terminals you have to turn on. It's like, oh, it really is just a Divine Beast.
That's the same as a Divine Beast, except the Divine Beast had the mechanic where you had some kind of power over the entire thing.
Yes, and I was saying to Rob, like, I think they should have kept that, really.
That was kind of cool.
I'm not sure what you would do in this game to make that work.
I mean, I've done 2 of the temples now, and I've not. Spoilers! That hasn't happened.
No,
right? They've not had their own mechanic particularly. They've just been like his. Well, maybe the water temple had a little something that wasn't anywhere else.
Well, I mean, the watery part,
but it's a very little something. Like, it's not like you have that big control over the thing.
No, I mean, I would have said that what they maybe should have tried to do, because I feel like it's an underutilized mechanic elsewhere in the game, and potentially you guys haven't even seen it, except you probably have in the trailer, was the thing where it's basically the new version of the motion control shrines from Breath of the Wild, except now you just just Ultra Hand a thing, and then you manipulate it using the 3D rotation of the Ultra Hand, and that manipulates a big version of it in the world.
Oh, I see. That's a cool idea.
They should have just done that more, because you only see that a few times in some of the Sky Islands. And
although I need to get better at the rotation thing, because I'm always rotating it the wrong way. So if that gets magnified, that might be a problem.
But that could have been a way to make it so that you could still have the global manipulation of the temple, but in this game's version, it would be you just have a specific platform where you have to go back to stand, and then use the Ultra Hand on the control to manipulate the whole overall temple somehow. Flip the ship on its side or something.
The accelerometer device things or whatever in Breath of the Wild had nothing to do with any of your slate powers or anything, right?
It was just a weird
weird extra thing,
How is Link actually controlling this? Presumably he just grabs it and he's actually physically rotating it.
Yeah.
In the lore of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I think generally there's just more bespoke puzzles in the shrines that don't rely on some weird thing like that, or on just being a combat shrine or whatever. So that's good, because there's just more opportunity to do physics puzzles with the Ultra Hand, basically, and the other ones.
But then I feel like I haven't been stumbling upon many. I think you mentioned this last podcast that you've been coming across too many blessings, that are just shrines that aren't actually things.
Well, I mean, at the end of world puzzle things, yes.
I mean, I mean, just in general, my experience recently has been I'm finding more blessings than shrines with things. And some of them I'm just I don't really feel like that was a world puzzle.
No, that's why. That's kind of what I was saying. That's when I was saying I feel like there's too many of those. It's sometimes it seems like the world puzzle wasn't enough that rated being a blessing.
I mean, there was one that was just in a cave, not exactly hidden.
Oh, really?
And it's just that's a blessing.
Well, or was it a case where you accidentally solved the puzzle but you didn't realise you solved the puzzle?
I think so. I think it was just there.
Was it maybe a cave in the Rito Mountains?
No.
Okay, because there is one of those. I think.
How many shrines are there? Is there the same more?
I think there's 150 something.
Right,
it's more.
So
basically
there's more. So that's as many as were in Breath of the Wild plus the expansion, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I mean, I find the coolest thing about it, just in general, is that the amount of times that you solve a puzzle and you're I still don't know what the right way to do it was, but I bodged it.
But I've done it. I've done what you needed me to do, and I got the chest. It's fine.
I mean, I did try and go and find the shrine Rob was talking about, where he sold it with stick piles or whatever.
No, right?
Just a pole. I think I found it, maybe, and I mean, I came up with a solution that used the poles and not the actual mechanic of the thing, but I'm not sure if it was even the same shrine. No. So I might have just found another shrine that you can also solve with poles.
I don't think I quite understood what the in that particular shrine. I'm not sure I really understood what the mechanic even was. So it was just.
I mean, I brought my Switch here today, so maybe afterwards I can find the actual shrine Rob was talking about, and then we can see.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do for that? I think I figured it out, but for that chest in the Wind Temple that's at the other end of a room that has a grate with a tiny hole in it or whatever, and there's icicles, long icicles. You're supposed to stick the icicle through and then attach the chest to the end of the icicle and then pull it back.
It's the fishing mechanic, basically.
Fishing. Okay.
Fish for the chest. I've done that several times with just chests in lakes and stuff in the world.
Yeah,
where it's Or if you have one of those wooden chests that's just floating down the river, it's just like quickly slap a bunch of planks together and just hook it as it goes past. Just use the attach. Although I've also
just attach, right?
I've also completely screwed myself a couple of times by trying to do that because I forget that like when you attach, you also drop the thing. So like I've tried to fish a chest out of the river from a bridge, and then just drop the whole thing I was holding into the water. Yeah. It's like, oh right, yeah, kind of doesn't quite work like that.
Right, it doesn't attach while you're holding it. The whole thing, like,
it doesn't stay handed.
Right. So you have to like immediately grab it if you do that.
Well, if you can, or like at least do it from somewhere where you can still reach it, which is like from the bank of the river. Obviously, that would work. Reach out into the river from the bank, so when you release it, it just drops next to you. But doing it downwards from a bridge wasn't going to work.
That smell is in the air.
Floats away.
Sorry to interrupt. That smell is in the air.
The smell of rain.
I love that smell.
Yeah, it's happening.
There's a name for that smell.
It's probably a German word.
Yeah, the dampness as the first raindrops hit the floor or something. It's
the lovely smell of pollution, basically.
Probably.
Well, the forecast was accurate. It was 6:30, nearly. Precise.
That smells good.
What else, Dan? What else about
what can you talk about?
It's called petrichor. The name, the smell, petrichor.
Petrichor. What else? I don't know. I just did a tower, and I'm back up in the Sky Islands, but I don't suppose that's anything. There was a shrine there. I don't know. I'm just like going across the landscape from shrine to shrine and tower to tower, basically at the moment, revealing shit. So I don't know if there's anything,
how much depthy stuff
that unlocks. I got the first fairy just now.
Oh right, because they spawn in the Sky Islands, basically. I mean, great
fairies. Yeah.
Great fairy. I mean,
right.
I haven't met the small fairy.
You actually figured out where Woodlandstone was, even though the game doesn't tell you.
Yeah. Well, I was going that way, roughly.
Well, I'm sure. That's also the way to Death Mountain for the next segment of the game, I guess.
Which
Rob didn't do.
No,
I think I was going. I think I intend to go to Kakariko because there was someone at the
right, because the new route to Kakariko is also like further north than it used to be.
Right. Okay. Well, I haven't gone there yet.
No, I still haven't been there either.
No.
Finally made it to Hatton though, but
that's further, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've somehow skipped it.
The Lookout Landing, there was something like I'm heading to Kakariko Village, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll go there.
Yeah, I guess when you go back there after the Rito is when
they tell you about the rings.
Yeah, they tell you about. It's the translation thing, right? The stone tablet thing
that
drops.
Okay.
And I just found something in the sky that I can't translate. Just the same.
Right. Yeah.
Take a photo.
Yeah, take photos.
Oh shit! I should probably have done that. Yeah, sensible. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'm very clearly not playing this on the golden path.
You're the cross country player. He just goes.
So do I though.
Like I'm trying to
straight cross country.
Well, I'm trying. No, it's not just that, but I'm trying to do what. I'm not even trying to do it. Like I guess I'm naturally drawn into the like. Oh, there's clearly something interesting over here.
Right.
I'm going to do that while I've clocked it, as opposed to the main objective. And so that's what instead of like going to Death Mountain and stuff, I just ended up going all the way around the houses and ended up in Zora's domain and doing that instead.
Yeah, sure.
And I still haven't done Death Mountain. I still haven't been there. I don't think I've even got the tower for Elden. It's
sure.
I mean, maybe
is Death Mountain the next one after Rito Village? In that kind of
it's the way it guides you. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Because it's telling me to have a nice meal at the restaurant. That seems to be the guiding.
Yes, well, I mean that is like the pre-story bit of Death Mountain, I guess. The Goron restaurant.
But I know from the last game that involves eating rocks. Like I'm not
Yeah, well, apparently everyone else in the world kind of didn't realise that somehow.
No.
I mean, it was funny when I found one Goron who was going to visit the ruins in Kakariko, who was like, he wants to eat them. Yeah, it's like, they must be so delicious.
Like, that would have made more sense for the new Goron meals to be like all the sky rocks, right? Because it's it's new.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They've got a new flavor.
That's true.
So they break it down into some kind of weird spice then you can put on your food, so you can have like Zonite spiced food.
Yeah, I mean that would be good, but no. Apparently, it's just some other. Well, no spoilers. It's some other kind of rock.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess in Rob's cross-country case, it must just be like some kind of coincidental, like accidental leading where you're like seeing a cave and then going into it, or then maybe it's a cave with a secondary exit and then you're coming out of that and then seeing another thing. It's just like you're following a path where it's just it's accidental visual guidance.
Yeah,
because it's obviously not as intentional in this game as it was in Breath of the Wild.
No. I still stand by my original statements. I think its visual leading isn't as good as Breath of the Wild.
Isn't quite as good. Yeah,
it's way
a bit
more
chaotic. Yeah,
chaotic's the word. Yeah, that's exactly it.
I did find myself in the depths, by the way, but I didn't know what to do down there. I found one light route and activated it, and then I was like, well,
you just went in there before you'd done the actual first depths mission, I guess, or the second.
Oh yeah,
one.
No, I haven't done any mission involved. No, I just fell down a hole.
Yeah, you should probably go do that.
Yeah, there's some people to talk to at Lookout Landing.
Where's that? They'll
guide you.
It's in Lookout Landing.
Okay. Okay.
Get that out of the way, then the depths will become make
more sense.
It doesn't really make much more sense than what you've already found out. But
the depths remain like where I'm finding more of the mysteries, I suppose. Like I've found one or two things where I'm just like, I don't know what that is.
Because like the Sky Islands don't seem to be, as I'm unveiling the map, don't seem to be covering much of the map.
No,
whereas the depths does seem to be
pretty much the entire map. Yeah,
a full entire copy of Hyrule Underground,
but a much less interesting one.
Right.
Well, yeah. It's basically like. I think it's actually intentional that the depths doesn't have as much in it because the depths is where they want you to use like vehicles and stuff, which is why there's all over the depths you'll see little like build stations basically with equipment in.
Yeah, but man, like I've only just got to the point where I've unlocked the second battery on my belt.
Well, that's because you haven't been enough in the depths.
Exactly,
that's where you get the batteries.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but the requirement for that is deep.
No, it's not.
Isn't it?
It seems like it at the start, but it quickly becomes not actually that expensive.
It feels like it took my entire stash to get this one battery added to my. So I've got 2 batteries instead of 1.
Here's an incredibly mild spoiler for you. That battery bar, I was, because it's a physical thing on Link's on your belt. You can see it, so you can see how many battery segments you've got. So here's the spoiler for you. I was stashing up enough crystallized charges to make the last batteries to fill out the whole thing, and I was like, okay, good, I'm nearly done with this. But no, you get upgraded versions, so it refills the entire set again. There's like a whole second layer of those batteries. So once you think you're done, you're actually only halfway done.
It doubles up.
Which you have to get one by one to
well, not
again.
You can just when you go to the forge construct or whatever, it just uses however many 100 crystallized charges you have, it does it all at once. So
yeah, because it made when I went there, it was like saying I needed 100 for a well, and 3 wells make a battery.
Yes, but it doesn't count that individually.
So I can't make a single well. And have a part of battery.
No, yeah, you can. That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't count partial batteries.
The batteries is only for the UI indicator, basically.
Huh.
The wells are just made individually every 100 crystallized charges you have. So every time you have more than 100, you can just, basically whenever you're in Lookout Landing and you're just like, oh yeah, I should just take all the crystallized charges I've got over there. Just dump them in. Also, those don't appear to be used for anything else, just in case you were worried about that.
Oh, is that guy? Oh, that guy's. I keep forgetting that guy's right outside Lookout Landing because I went back to the
one in the Sky Plateau.
No, I went to the one in the depths.
Oh, the other one, yeah, right, okay. I mean, there's tons of those.
Oh, are there? Okay.
Well, actually, I guess there's not as many of the making the crystallized charges. There's tons of the forge ones where you can buy the crystallized charges. They're all over the place.
Oh, those are the only ones I know of.
Yes, there are plenty of those. But that's not even the problem, of course, because that shop restocks quickly or whatever, relatively quickly.
Oh, sure.
If you're buying the crystallized charges.
Still don't have enough Zonite to do that stuff.
But yes, there's other ways to get crystallized charges. The way you start just banking them pretty quick.
Interesting. I have not come across that method.
Well, you might have, but just not realised, I guess.
Well,
whatever. Anyway,
yeah, doesn't matter. As far as
I'll talk about it in a non-spoilery way, I suppose.
No. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know how to do it.
There is one thing I did want to say that I'm going to say in a non-spoilery way, but like as I've got further into the, I guess, late game towards the end, and I said before I was trying to play it in a way where I was just letting the game tell me to do things. Like, even though I knew that I could go and do certain things ahead of time because I played Breath of the Wild and it was really obvious, I was just waiting for the game to tell me to do it. Like, maybe the Lost Woods was one of them. But, like, when you look at the way the story plays out with, like, the dragon tears and everything, because the dragon tears are basically like the memories, which is to say you can just get them in any order, which is slightly weird.
Yeah.
And it's made possibly slightly more weird in this game because one of the tiers contains like way more actual information than all of the other ones. Like, a lot of them are just like, general goings on, but then you find one of them and it's like, this contains all of the plot elements, which is slightly weirdly balanced. But the other problem that I was seeing with it as I got into the late game is that, like, the story is kind of linear, but because it's built into this open world, you can get parts of it in a non-linear way and kind of, like, spoil yourself, basically, on the story, which is really weird. Like, I feel like they should have maybe, if they want, they should have gated the story, but even though that would, like, go against the open worldness of it, like, they could have adjusted the tiers to make it so that no matter... they should have made it so when you got a tier, it just played the next scene in the linear story, rather than whatever the random one you got was. That would have solved that. But even beyond that, it doesn't help that towards the end of the story, there's these weird branch points. Mainly, I talked about this to Rob in a slightly more spoilery way last week, but like, there's a point where you get, after you get the 11 normal tiers, there is, of course, the secret final tier, just in the same way as the memories.
Mm-hmm.
And that final tier scene does a, like, dramatic clips from all the other tiers kind of thing, as you would expect, because, dramatic story moment or whatever. But it also uses a little clip from a different scene that's not from the tiers. And depending on what order you may have done other things in the game, you potentially might not have even seen that scene yet, which I found very strange. It's like, you can see that clip of that scene before you know the rest of that scene. Right.
So it's meaningless and just like, what are you trying to convey here?
Well, it's not meaningless. It's actually like important. Even that little clip is important to the story, but there's more context if you've seen the whole of that clip.
Right. Okay,
the whole of that scene. So yeah, it's like, I feel like they've tried to put this more linear story than Breath of the Wild into the same, like, mechanics as Breath of the Wild, but then because it's a more linear story, it doesn't work with the open worldness of the game. Like, potentially you could potentially find the main spoiler of the whole story almost instantly. Like, if you just happen to do one certain thing that the game wouldn't tell you to do until much, much later, but if you were just exploring in a certain way, you'd just happen upon this thing and have this weird spoiler. And then also that links into another weird problem with it, that, like, Link, like, tells people what's going on a lot more in this game.
Yeah, he does.
Like, if you go back to, like, the sages after you've got them, but you've progressed the story elsewhere, you can, like, report in, and sometimes they'll have extra information for you, and it's like, it's a more natural, like,
conversation,
realistic, sort of, like, progression of the world going on, where, like, you can actually bring people information and they can actually react and that kind of thing. But weirdly, like, even though the tears are kind of the most important bit of the story, that Link is seeing all these visions and it's telling him all this information. He never talks to anyone about those. It's like, you should maybe mention all this important information you're getting about these things that are going on that are quite pertinent to them. I mean, at a certain point, maybe you don't understand how it's relevant. Like, Link wouldn't understand why it's relevant, these scenes that are going on in the tear memories, but like,
sure,
at a certain point you do.
You'd probably tell Purah, right?
Yeah.
And, like what you were seeing.
Like, even Impa, who is like the quest giver for that, for the tears mission.
Yeah, for the geoglyphs. You never report back
to her until you've done all of them, and then there's just like a sum up, and it's just like, that's... Maybe you should have told people some of this information.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's... They are kind of separate. Like, the only thing I can think of where they might overlap is the when you do the Wind Temple. There's some of the Rito talk about a Zelda sighting, right? And
well, everyone's talking about Zelda sightings.
Everyone's talking about Zelda sightings, but there's a like that she might have been nefarious, like in the.
Well, yes, that is one of the things that you can find out. That also, again, that is another situation of like, once you know the information, the whole world doesn't really understand it yet. And I feel like that would have been one of the things that Link maybe should have talked to someone about. Okay. I mean,
but anyway, I guess all I'm saying is like that doesn't, these sightings are happening, but you don't understand why you're seeing these visions, so it doesn't really explain anything in the here and now.
Yeah, yes, mostly.
Or at least where I'm at, no, that's how it is.
The tear visions are kind of separate in like. Well, I mean, I guess it depends which ones you've seen. Like, that's the thing where, like I'm saying, there's that one that contains far too much information, which I feel like maybe you could, if you told anyone some of that information, it would explain a lot of things. And there's also another one that has less information, but also, so there's like these two tiers specifically that are much more pertinent to the whole rest of the story. And it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, that would help if you just told someone that, maybe. But yes, anyway, I let the game guide me through everything, and there is a point where basically it does eventually tell you to go to the Lost Woods, so don't worry about that.
A bit of me thinks I'd have preferred it if they'd have just lent into Link being mute again, that kind of thing. Like, he explains, but you never see his dialogue, right? In this, he's clearly talking to people, but it's like.
Yeah, he just does that hand motion of explain hand motion. Yeah,
just make Link mute, make that lean into that story wise as well.
Hasn't been like that for ages though.
It kind of should be. It could be funnier that way.
But then they'd have
a few words, aren't you?
Then they'd have to bring in then they'd have to bring in a sidekick of some kind to do exposition. Not that would necessarily be bad.
Oh no, Navi would be back.
I was kind of hoping they were just going to, bring back Fi, I guess. Make the Master Sword the actual...
Oh, right.
Or just have fucking Raru. He's literally in your hand. Why not just have him... I mean, he's not literally in your hand. He's a ghost. But they could have put him literally in your hand and just had him be the exposition guy.
Yeah, but you don't... I think they probably want to move away from the... They obviously want to move away from the trope of,
obviously.
Like, exposition buddy. Because Raru could just tell us everything, right? We wouldn't have to find the tears. Like,
well, I mean,
you could have told us everything anyway. Like,
yes, but before he mysteriously disappeared for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
Why was he even there?
King Rome. That's why.
Yes, basically, but like, it makes much less sense in this game, especially from other like. Similar things that go on later in the story, where it's just like, why was he a ghost who only hung around for this one specific moment and then disappeared?
Getting around the edges of spoilers aside,
yeah,
I still don't think mechanically I'm gelling with the combat here. Like, I know it's probably the same as Breath of the Wild in almost every respect, but something I'm not clicking here. Like, I'm struggling with little things like the Z targeting, or the equivalent of Z targeting, the lock on, like it not locking onto the right thing, or I'm pushing the button and it doesn't lock on to something in view. It will just put me into strafe mode. Or I'm very certain that the thing I was trying to do now, when I mentioned last time, where I'm trying to bring up the weapon switch menu, is there is just straight up a delay after like doing some actions. Like say you have done the double-handed swing, the 2-step swing, the swing that knocks someone over, and then if I go press too quickly to bring up that menu, it just doesn't come up, and I've got to press it again.
I'm still gonna have to deliberately test this after the podcast just to see if I can detect what Ron keeps doing, because I still don't feel like that is a thing that I've noticed.
Right, it just seems super common for me because I'm switching weapons all the time, and to be fair, that's kind of the other problem I'm finding. I'm finding a lot of time during combat going, right, I need to bring up the menu to fuse this thing to my arrow and then shoot the thing, and then it's just like the combat doesn't flow anymore because you're faffing around swapping stuff out and fusing stuff to your arrows, and it's like I
never fuse stuff to arrows.
Right,
I only use that for like lead-ins, basically.
Right, I feel like that, like it's trying to guide you. All the mechanics in the game are leading you to doing that sort of experimentation, though, right? It's like, oh, this guy probably has a weak point, right? Let's fuse some stuff or has an elemental weakness of some sort. Let's fuse some stuff and try and figure that out. Sure. A lot of the time it actually doesn't work, as it turns out. Don't fire splash fruit at electric guys, as it turns out. That was a bad idea.
Yes, it's not quite a straight... They didn't add water to be the counter to electric.
No, they really didn't.
Unlike fire and ice.
That was a bad call. But like that's what I mean. While I'm trying to do that, I'm sort of going in, or I want to go like find... this is a situation where I'm going to want to use the muddle bud and fire that, or see what a puff shroom does, and then it's like I've got to go into it, and then you've got to browse through what is now an epic list of materials to try and find the thing you want to actually. I don't know. I find it. I'm finding the combat a pain in the ass this time around. Well, and it's in some places it's just the camera. It's just like the fact that it's entirely manual now, like. Or I guess it always was in Breath of the Wild as well, but like it doesn't help you at all. Like the game, there's no like, oh, the thing you're fighting is over here. I'm gonna sort of nudge the camera in that general direction. There's none of that, and that's quite annoying at times. Like I feel like it should be guiding you a bit in that respect.
Maybe.
There's just too many times where something is off screen doing stuff to you, and it's like. You can be helping me out here, guys. I know there's multiple Lizalfos around me. Maybe help me out when the one behind me is the one that's about to hurt me. I don't know. It's just not. It's not flowing for me. It's not flowing. Also, I'm still in the position where most things do a smeg ton of damage. Right. Still, even after a whole layer of basically leveling up everything I have with that first Great Fairy, I haven't sorted a second one out. I still feel pretty weak. Link's not meant. I mean, Link is a little bit weak. That's kind of the thing, but I don't know. And it's not clicking. That's the only way to say it. It's not clicking.
The arrow thing is definitely a problem because that menu does suck for like selecting. Because it is just the entire list in a
incredibly
left-to-right
long list.
pan.
And there's no way.
It does have the sorting, I guess.
Yes,
I mean,
you really have to just like as soon as you've used a thing a couple of times, you just have to stick to using most used, and that's it.
It needs a favourite list or some.
Yeah, they should have put a favourites list in there as well.
Or an option just to stick, like so you can. So when you're in that menu, you can say every one of my shots fuses it. Yeah.
Yes, those two things would have helped, but the most used list at least helps a bit once you've started using some things consistently.
Yeah, because I don't know,
muddle buds and like bright blooms and bombs.
I feel like the combat is actually leaning towards you doing swapping and stuff like that. Like I'd quite like to bring out like a sapphire rod, for instance, and freeze some dudes, and then swap to something heavier to actually land a big hit on those frozen guys.
I guess that's sort of something you would do in Breath of the Wild sometimes. I mean,
I'm trying it most of the time, but like it's faffing in the menu that's really dragging that experience down.
I think I've generally got better at using the direct throw from hand for materials now. Like when I use those as the elemental attack and then follow up with a regular weapon.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I've been doing that in the depths, like to throw like blue, rather than
wasting arrows.
Because I'm actually like you, like my arrow count started to go down, and I'm like, oh no, am I actually
going to start having breaking grates again?
Yeah.
You think you have enough arrows, but you don't.
You do not. No.
You use a lot of arrows. But yeah, I just direct throw a lot of stuff now. I mean, there's certain situations where certain enemy types where it's just like, this is just quicker. Don't bother fusing a fire thing to an arrow, just shoot an ice Lazalfos, just throw it in their face. Same effect, because they just die one hit regardless. The arrow damage doesn't actually matter.
I don't remember having so much of a problem with things like this in the previous game. I can't put my finger on it. It's 6 years ago afterwards. Like I haven't quite got that memory with me. But actively avoiding fights is more fun.
Well, sure. I mean, that was a thing from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I'm really wanting to get into combat with anything if I can help it. God damn it, I hate fighting the Taluses now. I don't know why. I just find them really annoying. They've never been particularly difficult. It's just mildly annoying.
I think this is the exact same thing that Breath of the Wild did, where it's just like, it's at the start, you want to avoid all the fights and you're super weak, so you just die really easily, but then you reach the inversion point where it's like, now, where I'm at, obviously, combat is all super easy, and I'm just like, I've got all these good-ass weapons, I can just beat anything I want, and I can just walk straight through them.
Oh, I'm very much not there.
But, like, it was just the same as Breath of the Wild, where it's like that, it inverts really hard. Like, it doesn't seem like that's a very smooth transition between feeling weak and feeling powerful.
That's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. You'd want it to be so that majority of the game, there's, you want to fight them for the reward of whatever weapons or whatever they drop, but it's not super easy.
Yeah.
That would be ideal, right? But in practice, like, it's probably not worth the weapons that you lose fighting them for most of the game to get what they have. You might as well avoid them.
Well, yeah, if I stumble across something that's too high a level, which you do in that game quite a lot, then it's like, I cannot take this on. Like, not even for fun factor, I just can't take this on because I'm going to lose all my stuff.
If there was a reward that was worth it, then it would be cool.
But most of the time there isn't.
Really.
Well, I mean, at least in this game you always get the horns, which is like, that's just essentially giving you a good weapon.
Sure.
Essentially.
Something, you can fuse that onto anything and it'll be fine. Or, some like the Taluses you get the heart, right? So you get a nice
even Taluses actually drop something now, yes. Apart from gems, I guess you could use them as well.
Sure. For magic weapons especially.
But it's like that hard difficulty spike is slightly mitigated in this game because slightly more of the enemies in the world stay at a fixed level rather than leveling up.
Right.
Like, even where I am right at the end of the game, basically around Lookout Landing, there's still like red bokoblin bosses and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
So but that's more important for being able to harvest the materials for upgrading armor and that kind of thing.
I really don't mind that. Like, I kind of like that there are areas that are just like tough, and it's like you might not need. You probably shouldn't be here. Like, that's fine. I kind of don't mind that. The Dark Souls effect, I suppose.
But yeah, when you reach the inversion point, it's like I don't know exactly what it is that makes it invert like that. It's probably just the Great Fairies. Like, once you get enough armor upgrades to actually be able to withstand stuff, because weapons don't really get much better. Like, as soon as you're finding the royal swords as a base, it's only a matter of what you're attaching to them, because the base sword part doesn't get really much better than that.
No. It's always about the attachments.
And when it's like a 14 for the Royal Sword's base, and then the thing you're attaching to is like 30, it's like the majority of it is the attachment.
It's the durability that's always I guess when you've got something attached, that takes most of the hits, right? And it's like takes most of the damage.
Well, apparently it's actually a really simple system where, like, when you attach something, it basically, most things, it just gives it basically plus 25 durability.
Okay.
And it's
whenever a fresh thing is attached, or
no, it's like it's a plus 25 durability, but it's not linked to the thing that's attached. So basically, everything that's attached uses that 25 durability. So if you swap out what's attached, it's still at whatever percentage of that 25 you've already used. Just, it doesn't reset, basically.
Okay.
There's a few exceptions for, like, if you're attaching a weapon to a weapon, then it's using that weapon's durability. So that's why you can get it so that the top part can break off if you're using stacked weapons. Rather than...
So I guess that doesn't happen if you just attach a rock.
If it's a material, the whole weapon just breaks.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Apart from in a few exceptions, there's, like, very specific materials that only have, like, low durability or whatever.
Like that, yeah.
But yeah, it's basically a matter of the weapon bases almost don't matter. Even in the late game, it's still sometimes fine to just use a stick or a slightly fancier stick, I guess, a gnarled stick, tier 3 sticks.
So that's how they should have spelt tears in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, tears.
Tears.
I mean, it's a 3-tiered world.
Gnarls of the Tears.
Skyland and Depths.
Yep.
It's true. So what's the advice going through the game for weapons? Just fuse the horns, basically.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you have more than 30 of any type of horn, those are basically freely usable.
Yeah.
You're never going to probably need more than that for upgrades. Sell them for cash as well if you need that, but, you know, there's always gems for cash.
And experiment a little bit, because you'll find some synergies.
Yeah, a few. And also experiment enough to sort of recognise the weapon shape synergy kind of thing. It's not really It's not really a synergy as such, but, like, certain... If you put, like, a piece of amber on a longsword and it makes it really short, it's like, that's clearly not really meant for that purpose. Sometimes you can tell. It's generally more obvious when it's like, it looks like the thing you've attached is meant to be there rather than it just being stuck on the end.
Right. Yeah.
That's sort of how you can tell.
Some of them are just, the combinations are pre-programmed and they just work.
You know, it's not exactly pre-programmed, it's like the shape is right, I guess.
It looks like a proper weapon, I guess.
Yeah.
Apart from rock.
I just did the shrine that teaches you that attaching the fire hydrant makes a hammer. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't done that one.
I don't think I have either.
No.
I mean, I've had the fire hydrants, but I need it.
I've seen a couple of those, yeah, but I don't think I've ever encountered one and thought to fuse it. Like,
yeah. Well, it was pretty. Because it was just a giant rock wall, and it's like, well, I've got no means to blow this up. And then there was like, and it was clearly.
Right.
The shrine was like, water shows the way, and it's like, well, it's got to be the hydrant thing, but how? And then it's just a rusty claymore there. It's like,
to just make a hammer.
Okay,
a lot of things make hammers when you attach them to claymores, though, really. So, not just hydrants.
I suppose so.
Anything big and chunky attached.
But it was
the
base of the hydrant forms.
Yeah, it does make a nice hammer shape.
Yeah.
Coincidentally.
Coincidentally, yeah.
Nice. And you're just spewing water everywhere as well. What are you
doing? Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty. Is that a podcast?
Right. I think that might be a game.
I mean, it is a game.
It's definitely a game.
It's definitely a game.
It's a lot of a game.
It's a lot of game, and we are a lot of playing it, and there'll be a lot more next time.
It's still, and I'm playing it quite a bit. It still only feels like I'm scratching the surface of this thing.
Yeah, I know.
Plenty of areas I've not been to.
I mean, there's plenty of areas I haven't been to. That's the ridiculous thing. I've played it so much, and like
that's madness to me.
The snow and the desert and the jungle, I've basically only mainlined. Like I haven't explored those areas.
Right. Hell, man, jeez. All right, more Zelda to play. Let's get to it. Thank you for joining us, and that was a long one with plenty of good news this time around. No complaints of no news. We even had some house grouse.
Yeah, just a little
bit of house grouse.
Legit house grouse. And plenty of Zelda. And so we are continuing to do our Let's Plays on YouTube. So check out our Beyond Good and Evil Let's Play that we are doing. Woo!
Beyond Good and Evil 2 is coming soon to Star Wars Outlaws.
Star Wars Outlaws, yeah. So catch us for that, but otherwise we'll be back with another Saladcast in a couple of weeks, so we'll catch you then. Thanks very much. Goodbye.